Hello, friends, and welcome to the Celestial Cup. Welcome to the Soul League. It's week number 6 out of 9, and today you're joined by myself, Relic. We've got the lovely Dia alongside me, of course, Etsuki on production. And Dia, listen, your name in Italian, it means give, but I think we're going to be taking a lot from this week, as many storylines to enjoy, including probably most of which are JSA finally going to break their ducks back in this particular session.
You think so? I was really like a lot of people high on JSA coming into the season, and while I
Mm.
am by no means talking trash, I think they're an incredible team. We've had a lot of other squads that have really shown their mettle. I today am going in kind of cheering for EOS, especially after their performance in week 4 that got me really excited about the roster and especially their performances on Stormpoint.
Yeah, so EOS really is the breakout team. When we were watching them back in week 1, of course, they are the only repeat winners in regards
Mhm.
to all 6 games, all of these series. And that in itself, I think, is a statement. And we were watching them in week 1, watching as they managed to maintain that advantage over JSA. And although I can say that a lot of teams have definitely risen to the occasion, I'm not going to say that JSA haven't improved. I just think that the league overall has gotten better. And EOS, out of all these teams, are definitely they're the gals who are really looking on top at the moment. Of course, we are in week 6 of 9, and what these ladies are trying to do is they're just trying to stay in the Soul League for now, because of course the top 15, once we hit week 9, they are guaranteed access to the grand finals late in December. But for everyone else who's maybe a little bit unsure of whether they are going to be in or whether they're going to be out, it's all about accruing those overall leaderboard points to ensure that those final 5 team placements, the wildcard placements, they can nab one of them.
You've been talking about the improvement of these squads. I think last week we got a really good showing of that with the fact that Nice Girls did so well on the day, being able to clinch the first place.
Mm,
They having performed that well, especially given their start to the season that had them as a what I'll call strong middle of the pack team, was a
yeah.
big change up, and I'm fascinated by the way that this team has found their identity. I got a bit of them warming up today, and I'm hoping that they give us another game to remember them by, especially going into this week. I'm also keeping my eyes on UTFT as another honorable mention
Mhm.
squad.
Yeah, agreed on those points. And actually, worth mentioning, if you are new to the Celestial Cup, if you are new to the Soul League, then let us briefly explain the format. But
Mhm.
essentially, it's 6 games, your regular type of series in Apex Legends. We've got 3 games to be played on World's Edge, 3 to be played on Stormpoint, and the ALGS system applies. And so there are placement points available from first down to 15th. If you don't make that top 15, better hope that you got some KP on the board. Of course, one kill point is given out for 1 kill. It's as simple as that. The team with the most points come the end of the series. They are your overall winners, sharing a prize pool of $300, with 160 of those dollars heading to first place. And speaking about World's Edge, I know that we were talking a bit about teams and how much they were enjoying Stormpoint, Dia, but with World's Edge at this point, it is one of the older maps in the game. Of course, we received a brand new one with the addition of a new legend, of course. Are there any surprises at this stage when it comes to World's Edge, however? Because it does feel like all of these teams, they don't just know the map well now, but they know each other very well.
It's true, and I feel like actually getting to see two very different maps on the day gives us an opportunity to celebrate very different kinds of teams. Those squads that really like to play zone have a much easier time of doing it on World's Edge with the safety that a lot of buildings provide. And while it doesn't apply to every zone, I'm looking at you, Geyser, there are a lot of ways in which squads that like to play that god spot can succeed to a much higher degree on World's Edge than they can on Stormpoint. The fact that we're splitting it 50-50 with the first 3 games on World's Edge, the second 3 on Stormpoint, should give both types of styles adequate time in the sun, while of course encouraging the flexibility in between those styles that's going to be necessary to place yourself in the top 5.
Now, if you want your time in the sun, of the Soul League, perhaps. Well, the thing about the Celestial Cup is we don't just have the Soul League anymore. We've got a number of ways that you can get active and involved in the league. And so, although we have the rest of this second split all the way running through November to the very end of December, we also have the Lunar League, your support league, essentially, where for November 26th, December 3rd, December 10th, and December 17th, those are going to be the grand finals for the Lunar League. You can find yourself with a potential promotion spot into the Soul League as the bottom 5 teams from Soul League, they get demoted each week. So there's a bit of risk, a bit of jeopardy here. It's not just you got your 20 teams and that's your lot, but we've also got some specialty events like duos, I should say, in EU. A special event on December 14th as well. There's lots to look out for. So if you are interested in getting involved in the Celestial Cup or the Soul League or whatever is your fancy, feel free to head along to the Celestial Cup Discord, or indeed just follow us on Celes Cup, and all of the information will be there available at your disposal. But one of the bits of information that we were chatting about, Dia, before we got live here was that new legend that I mentioned previously, Catalyst. Now, I think we're both in agreement here. Decent legend, yes. Well balanced, yes. But are we going to see a lot of her? Perhaps not.
No, Catalyst has been fun. I've really enjoyed running the Legend in solo queue, and while she does have a lot of really specific utility, I've seen very few Catalysts in pro play, and it's for a good reason. I mean, coordination, obviously, being one of the keys to taking down Catalyst, makes her really good when you're playing on your own or in a chaotic lobby such as
Mhm.
ranked. But here, especially going into week 6, where communication has improved so much across the league as a whole, where these teams really do know each other, you're expecting that a lot of squads will be able to take down the abilities that Catalyst provides. While her tactical still gets you a really good amount of use in a competitive scenario, being able to lock doors and such, the actual Q and as well as the ultimate really do sort of fall behind when compared to other legends and the staying power that they can provide.
You just got to look across the hallway at the likes of Gibraltar and Caustic
Mhm.
still, where they just have that little bit extra. You could even go as far as to say the likes of Newcastle and maybe even Watson to a certain extent. They just bring
Mhm.
a little bit more flexibility into the role. And although I might say we if we're going to see Catalyst at all, we'll probably see her on World's Edge rather than
Mhm.
Stormpoint. Are we going to see her at all? Maybe, maybe not. We are, of course, just awaiting our first game of the series. Of course, 3 on World's Edge to enjoy. But we were talking a little bit about teams that we are expecting to see at the top. You highlighted UTFT as a potential team to watch. Of course, we have only had one repeat winner. Apart from that, they've all been different winners. So, what do UTFT bring to the table that at least suggests to you that we should be expecting to see them in the top 5?
I think what UTFT has shown me over the course of the last couple of weeks is that they have a consistent game plan, more
Mhm.
so than a lot of other squads that started off, especially in week 1. I think that's what separated them. And while that separation has been lessened now, it's more of time with that plan and consistency in their scoring throughout it. UTFT are really good about taking very similar rotations on similar zones. And this was really prevalent. And I think it was week 4 where we had several North of Fragment endings on World's Edge, and then 2 Jurassic Park endings on Stormpoint, where UTFT played very similarly in both rounds, adapting slightly based on their mistakes. And I think it's this approach to the game that is a little bit more academic that should get UTFT to a better place than most in terms of consistency by the end of the season.
Sure, and I think that consistency definitely is the key word there because they have taken game wins previously. This is a
Mhm.
squad that is has proven that they can last until the very end and they can win clutch team fights. Do they win clutch team fights enough? Is the next question that we need to pose to them. We'll see whether they can get it together. We'll see whether they can challenge for the overall series first place. Of course, there are still 4 more weeks to run, including this one that we are in before the grand finals. And let us tackle the JSA sized elephant in the room. Of course, we knew the trio very well. The trio that has potentially split up going forward into this week. Explain a little bit more about that.
Well, if I may sort of speak to JSA's former success,
Uh,
and then the way that it's developed throughout the course of these weeks. I wanted to touch on it mainly as you had mentioned something about the growth of the league, right, and the way that everybody has improved over the course of these past 6 weeks. I'll say even beyond then, from when they started competing together.
yeah.
And I think what JSA has encountered is the same thing that's happening in Pro League right now, where a lot of teams that are based on really heavily fragging out aren't necessarily having the same amount of success as they would expect, because fragging out is a lot harder to do when everyone is on the same page, when everybody has the same mechanical amount of ability. And what separated JSA before in that category now no longer does.
And we'll see whether that does indeed continue into this particular series, or whether the addition of Lutz to the squad might very well be the catalyst to push them on to something greater. Last week they hit the top 5. They've actually only failed to make the top 5 once out of the previous 5 weeks. And so whether that does indeed develop into more good consistency, whether it'll push them on to, who knows, a series win this split, now that would certainly be a return to form as we are into game number 1. And starting on board here with LVNDR. I'm guessing that's short for Lavender. That would just be my educated guess. And some early skirmishes as well as we join this team.
We know that, especially in a place like Countdown, that it has been contested throughout.
We must go here.
3 weeks that we've had contests going down. Lavender to the mix, and being one of our teams that was invited into today's games, they actually seem to have a pretty good game plan. Their drop path I had expected to be a little bit more spread out, but instead they've forced some other squads north and into Skyhook West, where we know that you can encounter several other teams as well, specifically Flower Power that like to land around there.
Disengage, of course, and I don't blame them either. There's so many things online now where we've seen an early engage just go so horribly wrong, and especially now that we're into the second half.
R301 here.
You really do not want to be dropping unnecessary points. The placement points, although not as meaningful in the long run, definitely helping some of these teams to better overall play. Remember, we're looking at that overall solid league leaderboard when considering the final 5 teams join the grand final once those 15 teams from week 9 have progressed forward. First ring inbound, and Lavender looking to now rotate out of Countdown with plenty of utility on board.
Now, if I'm reading the map correctly, I have to say, the amount of pixels on they may not actually allow me to, but I did not see a beacon where Lavender works. Be a bit of a change up. I'd like to see if they can find themselves a beacon heading into zone, because they do have that Valkyrie, and because of what we talked about earlier, that zone read being so important, not just for squads that want to sit down and figure out their game plan later on, but for squads
extended energy mag here.
Themselves around the edge of the map. You've really got 2 options. One is to wait for the zone to close in for rounds 1 and 2, and to try and find fights after that, and the other, and I'd say arguably the more educated approach, would be to find yourself a beacon as an edge team and understand what rotations people are going to take into a zone. Say, like this one, that is heading just off to the east side of Lava Site.
Up into Landslide, still on board with Lavender. Still, I wouldn't even say chasing necessarily. They've been given a bit of a run of the land at the moment, although it does look like they have spotted someone over to the western side of the map, and there are some shots fired here. As we will apologize if we can't see things immediately. It's unfortunately a bit of a different setup for us today, and so we will do the best with what is available to us. Plenty of R301s, which is what I like to see. As we jump over then to Fragment, and shots fired here as we join JSA, of course, with Lutzia in place of Sabs. I believe Sabs is remaining with WKL forward. All shots on Lutzia. Speaking of, forced to pop a health kit. And there you can see across the way, across the lava river, there's plenty of people in the building, and pot shots at the moment, Ian. No hard engages as of yet.
EOS on the opposite side of this actually are running the Ash today, something that not a whole lot of teams have picked up, but utilizing the Horizon to get a little bit of height here as well. They're able to effectively contest against JSA. The thing that's really concerning me, though, for both these teams is that Fragment can become a rotational nightmare, and while this specific zone isn't pulling us up towards the north, where we'd see a lot more teams having to funnel through Fragment, there still can be squads that come down from survey camp to contest things like this. In the meantime, WKL will be our first team eliminated, bringing us down to 19 squads just before the Ring 1 close. EOS not looking to drop too soon, so we should still maintain ourselves pretty close to 20 as the game goes on.
Miss Exodia, definitely one of the ladies to keep an eye on. She was the kill leader from week number 1, but really, although she's not gained that kill leader tag in any succeeding weeks, she is certainly always at the top of everybody's minds. So deadly, so much further improved in Split 2 as opposed to Split 1, as that full disengage will come through. Veneer, speaking of series winners, Veneer have got a series win to their name a couple of weeks back in SEP, of course, taking the kill leader tag on that particular occasion, and not on the chase necessarily, but we're now joining Nice Girls, as that's a couple of downs potentially over there. Mulvana and Krestev not even worrying about the shield pop until now, got some cover to work with. Guess who? Our second squad eliminated. There go the Valkyrie rockets down, as it looks like they've chased that squad off for now, maybe just prioritizing those shield pops before they look to push forward again.
Nice Girls, as well as the squad in front of them, not too interested in actually taking this fight head on. While Movana was rotating up, they've actually gotten a knock though, and well, that opens things up. As soon as one's down, you may as well push for it. Nice Girls will be able to pick up at least the 1 KP, and it's looking like it'll be a little bit more. While JSA lights up that kill feed even further, we know the shots coming from Fragment are evidently bearing fruit.
But running up the hill, that's more than likely going to be another knock. Looks like whoever the third was here, as XL is gone, as is the third teammate here. XL go down then. Third squad gone. As Nice Girls continue to look pretty good in regards to just general looting, early KP on the board, nice and steady progress, as of course in and around Lava Siphon, they know that they don't have too much, well actually I guess they don't know that they got too much further to run, do they, on the edge of the ring as things stand. Moving infield now, over the top of this railing, got a couple more things to pop here as we're on with Capybara, so they're just arriving on the scene of the crime, so to speak, and actually, never mind. You know what? They're on the other side of the ring. Don't mind me.
I think our observer may be a little bit biased. We've popped it back and forth between all of these edge teams. It's either that we only like edge teams, or not a whole lot of people are playing zone right now. We got a brief glimpse at the map, but Capybara taking their own respective fights are going to be in a little bit of a tight spot when it does come to rotating down into the zone, because as we know, pulling just off to the eastern side of Lava Siphon, there's a lot of open ground that Capybara will have to run through. Not a whole lot of those buildings that make World's Edge so special and so safe for teams.
So here's EOS, another engage. Into the house we go. Nice arc star, but they're not going to push forward into there. Now they have got the shield pop. There's the teammates coming in immediately looking to score some early knocks. A broken shield. And rotating round. They really are.
They saw a team and they went, you know what? They're dead. Only have shot one. Exodia's got great angles on yet another and finds that secondary knock real quickly. 2 versus 1 with the red already going off. And I can tell exactly why you were hyped up this Exodia coming into today.
Yeah, and to be fair, that could have gone south real quickly as well with Odd going down. But look, it's one down, but nothing too crazy at the moment. However, we do have a third party here looking to take some pot shots through the window. For now, the shields are popping, and Miss Exodia for the moment will remain alive. We'll look to pick up a bit more ammunition, a bit more utility here and there. And there is our opposition squad. We've got Cheetos, Jasmine, and Winx. Of course, 3 very experienced ladies in regards to the Soul League. And it's it's sort of like a wave across your neighbor situation here, as they're just looking for that moment to strike, maybe awaiting the arrival of a third, fourth party potentially to force EOS out of their hidey hole.
And I like the position of Control Freaks up on that height by Grandma's house. They've not only been able to lay out a decent amount of damage onto EOS, but by doing so, force them to take an alternate route into the zone. While Control Freaks aren't going to have that ring ultimately pulling to them, they're in a good position to be able to abuse squads that take fights, especially on the northern side, as many of them are evidently playing Edge today, and Control Freaks, meanwhile, will have the safety of that building and a decent rotation into the zone, but nevertheless, one that will likely necessitate the use of a Valkyrie. With 17 teams left, and a lot of the buildings in Lava Siphon starting to become populated, the ultimates from not just Control Freaks, but any squad sitting around the edge of zone are going to become riskier in the following ring.
Nice shots across the way. 301 is definitely one of my favorite weapons for a good reason. High velocity, high damage. If you can wield it well, you will wield it mightily. Back inside their hidey hole to pop the shield once again. Have alerted everyone to their locations as the shield pop on Exodia forces her back inside.
I can't believe they got that knock onto Alpha. It was instantaneous, and EOS, I think, quite naturally not pushing off of this, knowing there's a lot of ground in between them and their most recent knock. Do manage to hold down pretty effectively, actually, looking back, just like the No Control Freaks were earlier, towards that northern end, see if there are any squads funneling in that they can take advantage of. Meds are a little bit low for this squad, especially slow heals, as EOS are going to need to stabilize a little bit more once they have a position in the edge of ring. Right now, a little bit too close to the center for their own comfort, especially with this squad that they're running, this heavy pushing style. With an Ash, Horizon, and a Seer, this might be time for them to press go. Yoinkers is already moving up. Exodia's got that crack with the Dark Star, and I'm expecting another Gravity Lift, maybe an Ash ult to come out soon.
This is nice from EOS. They push forward nicely. You can see there, of course, they've got the down. That might very well be a kill confirm, indeed it is. Moving further up, there's another one. Oh, using the shield nicely here. Whoever the opponents are, they've done as well as they could do. Going to chase down, looking for the full KO on the squad. And somehow this Bloodhound has managed to get away rather successfully, evading the call of death that is on rushing via EOS. And my goodness me, where have they gone? I think EOS... There they are, the hidey hole, the little rat has been snuffed out, and it was JSA who go down. Again, another disappointing result for what was once the best team in the league.
And in 11th place, they do only get one place. That's to be bolstered by the kills that they were able to pick up along the way. For LNW, those same kills are not going to be the case. They, down to Just Vendetta, are taken out by Loch Nessies along the edge. Several fights break out, but now Caustic Gas starts to rain in as the zone just finished one.
LNW is a squad that varies wildly in form. They either hit the top 10/top 5, or my goodness me, do they struggle in the lower echelons of the top 20 as things stand. There's a third party entering here. I don't even think that they know necessarily that there's just an individual here. There goes Miss Dopey running away as Capybara becomes our fifth or sixth squad eliminated, I should say. But TSA not scoring any placement points, unfortunately. Getting, I think, was it 1 or 2 KP though. It's better than nothing, right? Further shots on. That's finally the down on Clara at work. And Loch Nessies are a team that are continually improving, but they need to survive this onslaught now as Livelon takes, I think it's a massive grenade. There's another incendiary grenade. Here's a frag grenade in just for the love of it. Nice damage done, but no shield pop on Vive. I think that the Loch Nessies might be not long for this world, though, as Ark's eliminated, Loch Nessies eliminated in quick success, and it's Control Freaks once again. They might not have been able to take down EOS, but they have certainly done well with the seconds. Oh, no, maybe not. Oh, here comes the Mastiff. Out it goes. Looking for the double revive. Control Freaks in a real desperate situation here. Winx has popped the UT as well down. Yes. Oh, that's not a lot of damage. There's not a lot of damage there because you got 2 in front of you. Flower Power. That is Control Freaks out. Flower Power now looking to head towards the top 10.
That was a really stylish and calculated play from Flower Power. They started that fight off to begin with, and I was certain that they were about to expire as soon as the push from Control Freaks came in. Flower Power managed to back off just in time, then re-engaged for that third, we'll call it a fourth party, since they technically got to participate twice. It's that play that, while they do lose a member, changes the game for them. Even with this round closing, they will have the opportunity likely to get their teammate back into...
Oh, they're gone.
No. Oh,
Miss
no,
Exodia.
I cursed them.
EOS is back, and they got their refund from earlier. Flower Power do not make the top 10. That is certainly one of the favorite squads out, and EOS looking as ominous as ever as we're on board with Veneer. No purple shields across the board. I think more likely because they just haven't encountered many people more than bad looting or any other reason. Of course, Veneer on the outer edge here, playing the ring. But I am worried for them, especially with the form that EOS is in. You can see them there, just north of your picture. They are in a great place positionally. They are away from a lot of other squads, so they've already got KP here, and now they're looking for those extra placement points to just bolster their cause in general.
RV just south of EOS. Nice Girls looking across into the low ground right now as Lavender expire. But that RV just off to the eastern side of all of Lava Siphon is going to be one of the prime positions, especially for squads, rest in peace, like Flower Power, who are running the Caustic and who have that zone control to lay down to dissuade other squads from approaching that vehicle. Nice Girls are going to try and make their way a little bit closer into that power spot. Whether they take it or not, still very much up in the air. But Veneer will have a long way to go and not very much time to do it.
And this is a bit of an invade here. Veneer on the back foot. Nice shots landed. That's a down. Important here as Veneer are fighting with their backs against the wall. Into the horizon ult. Down it goes. Oh, no, you're not going to get a revive. That's a shield pop. They've got to go in for the kill now. And Lust. Well, they are lustful with envy as Veneer claim another squad.
Gold knockdown shield going to be really useful for Veneer, but they've lost out on one. That was a charge rifle from a distance. So this res still absolutely possible. 15 seconds left on the zone close. Means that Yuzaki gets to stick both of them before this squad gets to rotate into the zone. Valcolt still available. Careful for the cancel from Pretty Bond Girl at a distance. Charge rifle still ringing through the air. Veneer look like they're going to have the opportunity to get back in. The standstill is really confusing me, though. That might be a DC, and that DC could be dead.
TLN, they've done well to get to this point, haven't they? But how much longer can they last? They're boxed in here, and their shield situation not looking good. Veneer, of course, on the other side, we've got Samurai Sky. Look at this. Up into the air they go. Lots of shots on them. Samurai Sky definitely not looking good here, especially with the ring encroaching. Comms is gone. Veneer choose this moment to break out, and they manage to pick off another there. TLN eliminated. The squads are falling thick and fast. Nice Girls still around, though, of course. Worth keeping an eye on them as our most recent series winners just from last week. Veneer not looking good for them, as the Nice Girls have stuck around beautifully. GM's gone, Veneer's eliminated. Nice Girls now looking for a third squad down. Yoli behind a rock, but watch out, because here comes EOS.
EOS have managed to claim that RV finally. On the low ground, pushing Nice Girls will be really difficult with the amount of squads left. 4 teams means that any aggressive move from either squad has them in the line of fire of at least 3 other teams. Something you are unlikely to survive. Pretty Bond Girl on this low ground, laying out damage with a charge rifle, though, is exactly what I know her for. Ever since I saw them, I believe it was in week 1 or 2, I went, this lady knows how to use marksman and long-range weapons. It is crazy the amount of damage that Pretty Bond Girl is able to apply to the rest of the lobby. Already kill leader with almost 1,500 damage in game 1. Nice Girls have set themselves up in absolutely a winnable position for the next zone, and they are in a much better spot than that last squad still in Lava Siphon. VSK that are going to have to very quickly leave into what I'm seeing as no cover.
And we do have a lone rat somewhere, I'm presuming, because we see 3 squads, quite rightfully, but there's a fourth squad alive out there somewhere, just waiting for it all to kick off. And you might be asking, well, surely this is the final. Oh, there is Yoli there. Yoli managed to survive. My goodness me, Team Nothing hanging on with a thread, but Yoli is also in by far and away the worst situation here. The ring encroaches and Yoli is going to have to move. They are basically counting on the other 3 squads being so enraptured with everyone else that they're able to move up here. Maybe a flank potentially onto Pretty Bond Girl and Co. No, they're going to go straight through the middle into another cover, but they're going to quickly find the rotating round Pretty Bond Girl and Co. As previously mentioned, Malvana. Oh, here we go. Yoli not long now. Surely going to go down as... Oh, there we go. Finally, Team Nothing is eliminated. VSK just watching brief though. EOS with a positional advantage.
Absolutely the right call from Nice Girls to go for that rat. EOS cannot move. They cannot give up this game just yet, as they are the only squad standing now in control of the high ground. To give this up would be to give the game over, not to Nice Girls, but unfortunately still not to themselves, as VSK stands to pounce on whatever squad moves first. It is a three-way battle, and honestly, I am really liking the position the Nice Girls have right now on this low ground. We don't know where the last zone is going to close just yet, but it's EOS that have arguably the hardest decision to make, because they can engage either squad. Either squad can engage on them, and they have to split their attention two ways.
I love Cresta playing a bit of Squid Game there as they were trying to just avoid the gaze of EOS to move in behind the crates. It does split the vision for both of the opposition teams here as Pretty Bongal and Malvana still stuck in that trough, really, still looking to make their way up onto the high ground as Crestep continues to put the pressure on VSK. Miss Exodia, Yoikers, Odd, of course. They are most backs against the wall of these three. VSK can move out of the truck, which they are going to do now. Are they going to go for a hard engage? Well, already their shield situation not looking good. Arcstar out. Odd is going to have to move through the fire here. A bit of shield popping there. And have a look at this. Now, Nice Girls choose this moment to rotate round. Malvana has joined her teammate, Pretty Bond Girl, still staying on that lower area up onto this almost like mountainous top here as EOS down by one. Miss Exodia, the shield completely popped. Crestep moving in. Malvana moving in. VSK caught in a pincer. Bestie and Snow not looking good for them. Up for the Valkyrie. Are they going to be able to get away though? No, they're not. The Valkyrie rocket's in as well. Miss Exodia, Yoika still up. Valkyrie Snow is 3v2v2 as things stand. All of a sudden, Nice Girls from being positionally in the worst place now looking to be on top of things. Snow is down. There goes VSK. It's 3v2 now, but Malvana desperately low on health. Down they go. Crestep also low on health. No shield to speak of. Pretty Bond Girl, finally joined her teammate, but the ring continues to encroach, and EOS still looking better and better. A shield pop for Crestep could be massive. Bond Girl in front of Crestep as well. Now they've got to switch over almost like a you pop your shield. Now you pop your shield, but unfortunately that's a massive headshot, and Crestep is left alone.
Watch Yoinkers almost down. Crestep has taken a bit too
Wow.
much damage, and EOS managed somehow to come out on top of that. I was sure they were getting Grieved Relic. I was sure that EOS would finish in second, but the Nice Girls just couldn't close it out onto the defense of EOS.
Yeah. I kept on calling because I'm like, well, Nice Girls are surely going to win this because EOS are going to, they're going to be taken down. How they managed to use what little cover they had to such great effectiveness is beyond my comprehension as a caster or an analyst here. 13 kills on top of their 12 placement points doesn't put them a huge amount ahead of Nice Girls, but 5 points is a mighty fine margin for Nice Girls as well. 20 points. When you're looking back at third place, only picking up 8 points overall, EOS and Nice Girls, they have strode out into an early lead.
Both these teams with really a textbook game as well. EOS playing the edge really well, and Nice Girls totally on the opposite side, being able to sit in Lava Siphon, farm up those kills. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Pretty Bond Girl collecting a lot of them with the charged rifle at a distance, and then able to move their way down into the low ground. They had great command of exactly how to play the end game, what their position meant, and how to use it most effectively, playing both sides of that final fight between VSK and EOS, and very nearly coming out on top, with EOS, like you talked about, able to use a singular knockdown shield to somehow come back from what looked like an unwinnable position.
Let's swipe over to the bottom 10, shall we? And usually I say that these guys are the biggest losers out of all of it, but genuinely, because there have been so little teams scoring above 10 points, and especially since this is match 1 out of 6 games in total, it's really not that bad. And so for the likes of JSA's, Control Freaks, Flower Power, LNW, WKL even, all teams, and ARC, all teams who we should be expecting to see in and around the mid-table at the very least by the end of today, they're almost going to be wiping sweat off their brow. Sure, the chances of first or maybe even second place might already seem like a far-flung dream, but in terms of staying alive in the Soul League for another week, there's still plenty more time to go for these folks.
Still a decent start for a lot of the teams, and you can throw it back to remembering how Control Freaks and Flower Power both went out. Loch Nessie's even. So many of these squads that we see, and the top 11 to 15, I'll say, did go out in that rotation up from the north, a very complex one that took them through choke points around Harvester, around Fragment, and ultimately into Lava Siphon that did claim a lot of lives, including JSA's just that little bit earlier. It is the reason that I like BRs, though, because we're likely going to get a different zone next time, and we'll see perhaps JSA be in the power position as they'll be a little bit closer to what could be a north zone. They'll be able to take a different rotation into something like a countdown zone, and that's where we'll see these scores really start to even out.
Well, we're probably not going to see Catalyst, are we? Immediately turns up in the first winning team of the day. But match number 2, we've got 2 more on World's Edge, of course, match number 2. Next up on the docket, and it'll be then after this. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Soul League. We're about to enter match number 2 here of 6. Our second on World's Edge. Myself, Relic, joined by Dia, and somehow EOS managed to do it again. They're in an unwinnable situation. They managed to find a win. They don't have a catalyst on their team. I'm just trolling you, folks, but there's no trolling about the quality of this squad, Dia. I was saying it right at the end. I kept on calling it because we're thinking surely Nice Girls has got this in the bag. And then the bag explodes, and EOS emerge victorious.
It was a really impressive performance from them. We got to talk a little bit about it just last game, but it wasn't just the end game that really wowed me from them. It was the mid as well. And speaking of, we're going to transition on over to the early, since Lavender have dropped in once again, this time once more by Countdown, but unfortunately now missing a member.
Yeah, Gem has already met the maker. Light Years can claim the kill on that one. Here we are with Team Nothing, of course. Yoli, really the savior for this team. The lone warrior out there. Only made fourth, of course, in the end, but given the position that they were in, did extremely well. They'll be hoping that Strawberry and Light Years, who's already claimed that first kill point, of course, that they'll be able to stay on the map a little bit longer to keep themselves more competitive, to try and nick away that win.
Team Nothing do have a great offensive position here. Moreover, they've got plenty of time. Not only do the shields favor them, but already in Countdown that has the zone still including it for the next and following couple minutes. They've got the luxury of being able to sit out here and even spot in what looks to be a third party coming in. This is not going to be an isolated fight at all, as yet another squad going to join this little skirmish that evidently is going a little more slowly than I would have imagined. Team Nothing actually letting the team escape. What is happening right now?
They've just taken the back door and legged it. And I don't blame them. It was WKL that was the third party there, Sabs and co. And it looks like even though they finished dead last in game one, they're not exactly taking that for granted. They know that they can get some early KP in. Look, we know Sabs very well at this point. She is hardly the most docile of players. She will get up in your face as much as possible to try and get some, I don't know, some just early pressure, some early intensity into the play. And look, with one squad player already down, you might as well run away. And if you are up against Eos, you might as well run away. As over in Fragment, once again, tends to be Eos' favorite spot, as that's another shield pop. Once again on the R301, Horizon hits a head on the bridge there, and down they go. It's UTFT and Lupelia.
My predictions, Relic, already. UTFT having lost. It's unlikely they escape this, and a nice final shot as WKL get taken out. And an interesting change-up as we move into game two. EOS do still have a great position, and one that I don't mind nearly as much as they've been able to take an early fight in Fragment. A care package right next door really going to help them out as well. But JSA have certainly moved quickly, already finding themselves in a fight over by Skyhook, and one will take them towards great position.
Yes, apologies, I'm putting on a bit of a Donald Trump cosplay because it appears that I'm just dealing out loads of misinformation. Sabs on Arc today, not WKL, also not on Guess Who. They're our second squad eliminated in total, as JSA have done well up until this point, but the Nox Gas really playing havoc here, as here is Arc once again. They find Clara at work, caught out, just about survives with a hair's worth of health. My goodness, it's Piku trying to chase her through the building, but they won't have sight of her. My goodness, Clara got away with that one, as JSA quite rightfully disengage.
Having lost just the one, they have the opportunity to res this if you really want to take a second fight in a row. G7 Scout actually makes this a little bit easier to do, though, since the defense on the roof should be all the simpler. Res gonna get stuck here as Janie gets to cover it. Ava joining in that fight very soon to make sure that you do not get absolutely dunked on right off drop. Tiana now being able to join the rest of the squad. Probably won't have access to the death box immediately, but there's plenty of cursory loot still to be found in this Skyhook area, and it's important to have your Valkyrie, especially in a zone like this, where you can play the northern side before ultimately Valk ulting down.
Nice hits from the G7 as LNW are eliminated. They were already at a disadvantage. They only brought two into the lobby with them. Lovely shield pops from Arvalee. That G7 so underrated, especially with the legendary attachment. You can bet your bottom dollar that she's going to be running riot. Engage once again from JSA. They've got their teammate back on point, but it looks like they've been... Oh, no, they haven't chased him out the building. I thought they'd taken the back exit. No. Arvalee, the shield pop. Oh, got to get out of joint, and that's a down. A bit of an overcommitment here. The Horizon is going to at least get them out of the dangerous position that they were in. Going to get the revive off as well. A nice little punch to the face for good measure, but Arc looking deadly here as they now become the third party.
Can I just say that Flower Power are basically performing at their absolute max right now? They've held off two squads this entire time. Well, we've been tracking the arc of Avalee getting everybody back into the game. Luciana finally being able to push up, almost getting put down again as everybody had to back off and reset. It's Flower Power that managed to hold on for so long. SK, even as this fight continues to go on, have finally been eliminated. Flower Power running really low on those meds. And two down now, it might be their last.
Oh, Farah had worked it so well to run away. Maybe she should have kept on running, because Flower Power, another early elimination by their standards. JSA with the KP, and Arc now trying to disengage through the Wraith portal. They go. I think a smart move, given that JSA, they knew that they had disengaged. They were back again for the third bite of the cherry. But I mean, honestly, 3 of the highest performing teams in the Seoul League in general, they're all collapsing in on each other. One of them was going to have to fall. Flower Power will be most disappointed, especially given how long they were able to hold out here.
That was actually... I mean, I guess the nice thing is that there aren't going to be a whole lot of shield bats or mez on these boxes because Flower Power did hold out for so long. But the next moves for JSA are no less challenging. Now they've got 2 squads coming in behind them in Skyhook, still another squad in front, and no zone to help them out. Still remembering that Valgold is going to be the ultimate tool of a lot of players, a lot of teams that are still stacked up in Skyhook right now. JSA may be able to take another aggressive fight before that as they actually back off just that little bit more to find a different angle. But now they've got another squad in their sights. The fight should be a lot easier to take than the one they just did, as there aren't that many costumes in the lobby.
Yeah, so we've got a 3rd and 4th party here. Arc, of course, they've decided to turn their backs on them. Whether that proves to be a fruitful choice, we will wait and see. But clearly deciding that engaging these 2 squads further into the city, the better course of action. Maybe just, they don't want to let Arc get too much inside their head. Of course, they've disengaged. They might very well have moved back round towards Countdown, which of course is where we're going to see the ring ultimately finish up as we onboard with TSM Jamie. And this is such a smart move, of course, moving further back towards that ring. Again, identifying to our teammates, look, we can go in, we can push, we can try and be aggressive here, but let's also think about the fight that we just won. We picked up good KP, maybe survival of the fittest, the way forward, the sort of methodology we should be taking moving forward. Now on board with EOS, and already some early KP for them, and trying to get a little bit of a chokehold here on a squad moving through the mountains.
For them so far. The rotation really the most impressive thing about it. A 3-kill game at this point is going to put them ahead above a lot of other squads, as Capybara unfortunately won't be able to make it, although they did collect the 1 placement point for having made it all the way into 15th. The actual position of EOS, though, one that allows them a nice bit of a chance at getting KP later on, while making sure that they are secure. The bridge just off to their northwest is going to have to be the focus for them later on in the game. EOS still a bit of damage from a distance here. It's a matter of farming up only 1 damage, separating them from those red.
I was going to say, we have a massive firefight going on the other side of the map. Veneer, Lust, Nice Girls, all within our hot pocket here, and Veneer is the one that's bit the bullet first. They're down in 14th. Very disappointing result for Veneer themselves. Nice Girls, of course, maybe looking to rotate back out through the canyon. They've got a great choke point here, especially on the team that is trying to encroach on their position, that being Lust, who might very well have been in the better position. No longer. Nice use here of the Valkyrie up onto this little hidey hole. Hidey hole is, you know, it's a nice sort of lookout mountain, I guess you could call it. JSA, the only thing to look out for here is other squads that might potentially take them down. Avali, that shield eviscerated. Lutzi up alongside them. Jamie already down. Get out of the way, mini-map. Avali able to pop the shield here. Lutz just watching brief. Got to pop a couple of shields. Oh, their shield situation not great whatsoever. And they've got to pretend. I mean, they might just have to leave Jamie at this point here.
It's very unlikely they get this recovery. It's going to have to be a slow game from JSA. Yes, they've already got good damage, but their placement matters so much more at this point, especially with the fact that Janie expired on the low ground, so far away from them in the center of Countdown. That scan still connects with Ava, despite the fact that she tries to dodge out. Gianna is going to be able to cover for the most part. With this Valkyrie, JSA still have a chance to reposition. The ring isn't ticking that hard, and that might be exactly what their decision is. Jumping on out of the ring, Luciano's going to be able to heal up, Ava doing the same, and then you have to imagine you're jumping over the wall here because there is no other way that JSA survives.
TLN eliminated. EOS were the ones to chase JSA off. This is a long run to the other side. They're going to have to go in and do the beat boot bops to attempt to get themselves a med kit. That is an excellent use here of the vending machine here. Arvely going to be able to pop this off just in time. Oh, what excellent work here from JSA to stay alive. EOS have not pursued them into the ring. They probably thought they were long gone with how lacking in utility they were. TSM Janie, of course, going to be cheering them on from the background. But for now, it's not so much survival of the fittest as can you survive against the ring. JSA, oh my word. How long are they going to be able to keep this up, dear?
Be able to get a few more med kits, and then, as we talked about earlier, Valkyls themselves into the zone. They can't go walking back through Countdown, but if they do Valkyls over this wall, there is still a team waiting for them. Team Nothing right on the other side is going to be prepared for yet another squad to fly over into their area. They give it the sniper tower. They've managed in the meantime. Arc taking this Wraith. Portal have a decent position for right now. Sabs up white shields. I'll be honest, not ideal, but that's even worse as Sabs doesn't even get the chance to play the game. EOS find the knock as Exodia is the one to really start things off, winning a literal bang. Armenta not able to deal up, and Sequel left. Also an impossible scenario. Arc God and EOS take that fight decisively.
Miss Exodia obliterate, but now also run away, because here comes the third party, Vfey, the scout for their squad, just looking ahead, or maybe they are just, forget the scout, maybe they're just like the lone watchman, just taking a little look out over the horizon to see whether there is anybody of note. Well, now they're back onto that wall, they can start to re-engage this squad that they have spotted here. EOS, of course, down to just 2 with Miss Exodia and Odd. Yoika's, they got the beacon, or they got the banner at the very least, so they can deliver to the beacon, but are they able to reach a beacon is the first place, is the next question on their mind, surely, as it looks like they are going to have to rotate out and around Countdown just to be able to make this a reality.
Firefight, especially
Wow.
joined by Miss Exodia. Loch Nessie also taken down as a result of that fight. The last remaining member of theirs now gone. Nice Girls do still have a good position around the outside of EOS's previous spot, but an unexpected ring pull is going to draw a lot of attention to this southern side. Most squads would have prioritized something like that northern area by Skyhook, where we saw JSA, and that's simply not going to cut it now. We are pulling basically center of Countdown, just this little bit of wall providing some safety. Nice Girls still technically in ring, but I would not want to stick around.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to lay all my hopes and dreams on the structural integrity of a drain pipe, quite frankly, and they've got to watch out. I mean, there is a reason why they keep on looking back and around, because they know that there is a squad that can third-party incendiary grenade in, using that nice Horizon utility to try and get themselves a better look as to who's going to try and shoot them from where as well. Team Nothing eliminated. Keep an eye out on EOS, of course. They may very well go for the hard engage here. I don't believe they're going to move all the way around, maybe looking to encroach on this building, but what entry point do you take? You don't want to split up your team, otherwise you're taking a third off, potentially 2/3 off your firepower. That is always a recipe for disaster. You could just see the difficult situation that they find themselves in, because if they move out into the open, dear, they are opening them up to a crossfire situation. The same can be said if they move to the right of this situation.
Off in the eastern side of this map, we've got a whole nother situation developing. Comms took out Team Nothing. Team Nothing, that remember, was waiting for JSA, and JSA are somehow dead in the center of this zone, claiming that last remaining cover is sitting just on the top side of Countdown. Little room over towards the eastern side. Nice Girls are going to have to push up into that. Everybody's going to have to push up into that, but if we remember correctly, and we should, JSA are just a 2-person squad, so not a whole lot that they can do in the face of what is going to be multiple squads trying desperately to take their position. Scouting out who's a 2-person team and who's not is a skill that all these squads should have developed over the past couple weeks. Nice Girls certainly going to be able to do it, as they did in just that last ring, that last game. And I'm looking at JSA to see how long they can outlast. They're already placing better than they did in game 1. How long?
But certainly just on kill points alone, a lot much. But EOS, well, although Lavender's eliminated, they're going to take a little bit of damage here as the ring moves in slightly. Difficult here as Mythic Zodia's got to find themselves some sort of cover this excavator sort of machine will do. But you can see there, Avali and Lutz, JSA, they might be down one squad member, but they can potentially claim, well, I was going to say they could potentially claim on EOS here, but Lutzi is now down to their lonesome as Avali was removed from existence. They're going to be able to pick up the revive here as Lutzi moves back, and that's some really just lovely zone work here from EOS as that revive has come through. Mystic Zodia, they're going to be able to pop a shield, almost went down immediately with some pot shots from Avali, and JSA very much in the center of the firestorm here. Got to be careful, and if they are going to go for a direct engage, then I fear that their chance may have come and gone.
EOS's one path into the zone puts JSA right in front of them. No hope of escape, as Ava and Lutzi are going to have to face down this three-person team as just two. On the opposite side of the zone, there is no shortage of squads that we can focus on, as 4 different teams are all stacked up in here trying desperately to survive. Banrion not going to be able to do so, as Samurai Sky takes them out, and Comms rack up a few more kills. JSA still preparing for the inevitable. They know EOS is going to push up on them. It's just a matter of how long they can sustain, how far they can push EOS back, because there is a chance, if you lay down enough cover fire, that EOS are forced into the low ground and JSA can stay safe.
Oh, but you've got to watch out for every other team still up, and they're just at your back. The moment that you turn your back, you might be in trouble. And in between the two of them lands Comms, that's Samurai Sky and Co. And they're sort of just waiting for everything to kick off here. You can see them as Excella eliminated. Oh wow, you know what? You know what? I was worried about JSA. We should have been worried about EOS. Turns out that everybody else wants to get them off the map. And JSA, through no fault of their own, have actually contributed to EOS being taken out. Now, let's keep an eye, of course, below JSA. This is where Comms are. JSA still under fire, but Comms, nobody really knows that they're there. At least I don't feel that they do. JSA too focused on EOS to think about the squad that has slipped underneath the platform which they currently lie on. Comms, all they got to do is stay quiet until the right moment.
Control Freaks have done really well to be able to, much like they did last game, have influence over everyone else in Ring without giving up their position as they did in Game 1. It's net them top 4 so far, but they still have to leave this building. Last ring going to be closing in 30 seconds, and it'll put them right up against Nice Girls, who were robbed of their victory in game number 1. While this fight breaks out, you already know we're looking at JSA and Comms for how that's going to evolve at that very same time. And though it's going to be a slow ring close, every second will matter.
Comms have given away their position, and they also don't have a Valkyrie, worth mentioning as they are on the lower level here, so they are going to be in an instant disadvantage. Fives move forward with the Wraith. That's going to at least potentially give themselves a bit of maneuverability here. Nice use of the portal. Once again, underneath everybody. More shots. There goes Samurai Sky. There goes Wonder Nikki. They have all relocated into a theoretically better position. JSA on the outer edge here. I'm with you. Control Freaks in the best position for now, but they are going to have to move out of the building. And on the other side of that exit, you will find your opponents who've been sitting there for many, many eons. Nice Girls. They're backed up against the ring. They're waiting for that moment when eventually they're going to have to burst out the building. You know what? JSA is potentially in a decent position here, Dia. They're in nice open air. Although that said, watch out for the flank. Here comes Comms.
Nice Girls game just got ruined as well. The move to stay on the high ground from Control Freaks means that one, if not both of these squads are about to expire as soon as that door opens, and it's going to have to open sooner rather than later. By staying inside, Control Freaks risk everything. Nice Girls are just unable to move away from this wall, as finally out has to come the Horizon to buy them just a bit of space. They can't drop down to the low ground. We know that. Comms are waiting for everyone down there, not even playing the game, just watching it evolve as JSA JSA finally are forced to push forward. There's still a squad on the inside. Control Freaks are still waiting to come out, and JSA are farming
Ooh.
around the outside, picking up yet another knock. Out
Oh!
come Control Freaks as Nice Girls are decimated, and from the low ground, Comms fly up to take the game. They bring their brooms as well, and with just Winks in their grasp, Comms move them out of the way and send themselves to a game 2.
You don't want to be dust when the Hoover's out, because that was a sweep up from Comms. They were the squad that nobody quite knew what was going to arrive from them. They actually gave away their position to one team, at least, in Control Freaks, but then they were able to just stay quiet once again. There was too much going on that upper platform to not draw their attention away, and they strike at the perfect time. They waited until the very last moment. Credit to JSA, by the way. How many clutch kills were Lutz and Ava able to pull out near the end? That is a deserving 15 points for them. EOS on a warpath up until that point. Even though they don't hit the top 4, they do have 12 KP, 16 points to add to their 25 from game number 1. But what a breakout game from Comms. We've talked a lot about Samurai Sky, Wonder Nikki, Fife really the newer lady to this trio. And what a performance from all three of them. 12 placement points on top of the 11 kills in total. Play that endgame to perfection.
Samurai Sky really impressing, not just in this game, but in the last as well, being able to pick up multiple entry kills for the team and ultimately contributing to what was a great game to win. Still just the 11 kills with what was a little bit of a passive end game from them, and absolutely the right call to walk away with that win. The warpath that EOS were on earlier definitely paid off, though.
Heading into the bottom half of the table, more disappointing performances. For example, the likes of LNW, who were already one lady down before they even hit the lobby. No surprise to see them dropping in the early stages. Capivara at least picking up one placement point alongside the likes of TLN, ARC, and GM. The fact that we have 17 out of the 20 teams actually scoring points, showing how mixed up and how even the midfield game was. VSK, for example, out of the first 5 teams, but able to pick up 2 kills. Flower Power, massive name, a massive scout picked off in the first 5 teams. Once again, picking up 2 kills. And what about Veneer? Yes, an early departure, but 4 kills for them at least gives them 5 points to take away in the overall scope of things. But at the end of it, I think that EOS are going to be quite happy that it was Comms of all teams that picked up the most points overall. They were more worried about the likes of Nice Girls, and although they did decently, it just means that their advantage at the top for EOS, it is further extended heading into our final game on World's Edge.
Both those two, certainly the most consistent. I'm sorry, Flower Power. It's not your fault. That was so painful to watch, and I felt a very similar emotion watching Control Freaks as well. Sitting inside the building, you knew that Control Freaks could no longer win that game. It was a matter of how long it took for them to go down. Good to hold on for as long as they did. They collected a lot of kills, but with one more game on World's Edge, I think it's time to run this back one more time. See if EOS can give us yet another great performance here, because remember, coming into today, I characterized them as a Storm Point-centric team, because that's where they impressed me. The fact that they're doing well on World's Edge should be making everyone sweat.
They're looking for the, oh baby, it's a triple in split too, but is that good form going to continue? Final game on World's Edge, 3rd game out of 6. It's coming up then after this. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Soul League, to the Celestial Cup, to week number 6 of the Soul League, to the third game of 6 games. There's a lot of points on the board, dear. Myself being Relic, of course. Shout out to Etsky on production. But the points that matter at the end of today will be that overall leaderboard. And currently, the lead is being EOS. A win in game number 1, another top 5 performance in game number 2. Their warpath continues, 10 points clear of their nearest rivals.
And this is looking pretty good for these lasses as EOS. Again, characterized as a Storm Point squad from me. Now, definitely breaking that and making me even more scared for the latter half of the day. Control Freaks sitting in 4th. Also really impressive performances on the day, given that they have, much like I expected UTFT to, stuck to their style and been able to enforce that across the rest of the lobby, making for a convincing argument in game number 2 and ultimately pushing them above JSA in total points, despite 2 very, very different games from JSA.
We're keeping an eye out for LNW, Guess Who, and WKL. Donuts on the board for now. I mean, yes, they've got damage offshore, but they need some KP. They need some placement points. Similar thing to be said of ARC, really. Out of all of those teams that we'd expect to be seeing in and around the relegation zone, ARC is not one of them, especially as they are plus Sabs now alongside its Piku. Surely that squad failing to live up to their potential. We'll see whether they can rescue that in game number 3. It's our final on World's Edge, and as seems to have been tradition for today, dear, we once again return to Countdown, and that is where we find Lavender once again. Their early looting has been rather fruitful, and looking for an early engage now with the team across the way.
If you're confident in your mechanics, contest Countdown absolutely. Lavender clearly are, and they have once again pushed themselves into a good position, being able to get the better shields, the better position, clear out the remainder of this POI, and push that squad north into Skyhook, making an even more crowded zone and actually separating a team as well. Now having a lot more to deal with, Flower Power find themselves split up with a whole squad of 3 in between them. And I'm keeping an eye on that kill feed because Flower Power are going to be showing up in it one way or another.
Looks like for the second consecutive game as well, we're going to be heading to Countdown for our final ring, or in and around there anyway. Lavender moving out of Countdown for the moment as they look to presumably move into another squad, aggressive from the off, and they've got a set path here. They've moved a little bit east, and now they're going to be moving down south towards a Landslide. Down south goes Shiroski's Health, however, of course, Veneer. Disappointing game 2 after a pretty respectable game 1. We expect these ladies to be in and around the top 10 situation every single time as Yusaki is forced out from behind the crate. Excellent Arcstar usage here. Forced to pop another shield cell as underneath the great tree there is a squad who continues to perform a nuisance.
That's a small game of chicken with the Arcstar as well. When are you going to keep? When are you going to dodge the Arcstar? How much damage are you going to take? Just to come out on top of it, taking out the Seer ult that was placed defensively by this squad, and now likely finding the first knock of the game. Coming up a little bit short on that. Yusaki almost becomes that first knock, trading things out with Shiro as both are knocked down to 10 HP. It is a trade both ways as Shiro manages to get a 1-4-1, but with Yusaki down and Luna down as well, it looks like we've already got a squad coming out on top. Veneer able to very nearly find the full wipe. Incep gonna finish that off, and well, we had some shots coming in from Lava Siphon. There's no real third party.
No, indeed. It was just an excellent bit of flanking, really, although whether that flanking is going to pay dividends, it's 1v3. Odds on that, pretty unlikely. Belarui has survived well, managed to pop the health as well, but 3 versus 1, definitely not looking good for you. Guess Who? We were looking at them as a squad that needs to score points. They go pointless on World's Edge.
Unfortunate for them in yet another instance, and Veneer quite gladly will take those 3 KP and move themselves up to the north, currently deciding whether they want to hit up Thermal Station for the rotation or go a little bit more central for Harvester. This is going to be a decision of how much action they want in their game, as LNW perhaps unintentionally have found themselves just a little bit popping up through this northern side of Landslide, trying to grab a scan. They're really held down by fire from above, and well, height in Landslide is risky. It comes with a lot of advantages here.
Yes, I'm presuming, yes, this is indeed Lavender, as Team Nothing are eliminated by the looks of it. JSA already getting to work. Lavender, of course, entered Landslide a lot earlier than LNW here, who, thankfully for them, great to see all three players have made it to the lobby. All three players deciding to get out of dodge as well, immediately disengaging Lavender there with the perfect oversight on everything. Looks like potentially a squad was going to be joining them from the east as well, as LNW go inside to find that everything has already been looted. They arrive out the other side, hoping that there's not going to be a chokehold here. Looks like it is free moving to the south.
Likely going to be able to wrap themselves through staging and perhaps up onto the train track. Should be relatively contested, as it is a nice juicy rotation if you can get it, with a lot of great sight lines, some good RVs to hide up in as well. But as you mentioned, Countdown is what we're returning to. Slightly better zone for Lavender as well, since they will be able to claim that sniper tower before Team Nothing do, mainly because Team Nothing no longer in this game. Well, LNW, I presume they're waiting for the Valko.
And here it comes. Presumably they saw something that they did not like, or perhaps they saw something that they did like and are now committing towards it. Away they go towards Countdown, as we now join Flower Power, who dropped very early indeed. They've actually got quite a few kills in their short time on the board in game number 2. They're also utilizing their Valkyrie ultimate. Up and away they go, looking to either reposition or potentially get out of there. It looks like it's a reposition, hard engage. They're going to find themselves some cover. A bit of a drop-off here as Clara work. Oh, they have all decided to join each other. Okay, I was thinking that they were going to split push there, and I'd like, excuse me, just stay in the same place. Surely that's going to be better for all of you. Setting up shop here with the Caustic in the roundhouse, not a surprise.
It's a much better spot for them because they managed to put themselves in between Arc and the following zone, while at the same time making the best use of that Caustic, where you can get a lot of value and a lot of staying power from these close spaces where you've got to enter indoors. We saw it at work in Sky West, and now we're going to get to see it a little bit here. It's not the only position in Lava Fisher that's got a fight going on, though. It's just off to the south. We've got even more action of brewing. Flower Power are going on the push here. Miss Dopey taking the offensive angle, taking a lot of space away from the team on the inside, as Nice Girl towards the south of Lava Fisher are encountering their first early game challenge of the day. Nice cover by Mulvan, making sure the press step stays safe and themselves right above them. Again as well, Mulvana gets beat by 2. This is a problem as Nice Girl managed to find 2 knocks. Press step very
Beautiful.
low, but they take out VSK just in time.
Yeah, just better gunplay overall. That was a really difficult engage for VSK, as WKL are also eliminated. EOS picking up their first team kill of the game. And yeah, just a nice play overall from Nice Girls. Great shots landed, as we've got a bit of a house party now, as inside are Arc and outside and knocking to see whether they have a permit. Of course, you've got Flower Power, Giggle Autumn up on top, Miss Dopey as well up on top. They got purple shielding. Looks like they were able to pick that up from just a little bit of looting on the side, perhaps there. Some shots fired. Miss Dopey forced out. Oh, that's a full shield pop as well. Miss Dopey forced to move away, utilizing that Bloodhound to good effect. Nice shots found. Lavender eliminated in the meantime. Flower Power continuing to move in. The Watson electric fences go up as well, as Arc are stubbornly staying put.
But you know what? Flower Power, they are more courageous than I. We're actually finding the initial damage and letting the Caustic Barrel do the rest.
Beautiful.
Zaps is down and Arc is out, making good use of the Caustic that we know and love, or some of us at the very least, with the zone control that Caustic provides.
Capivara also got a lot of early squads here, dropping off the map. And we were actually just talking before the broadcast, weren't we, about the whole Seer versus Bloodhound argument, and whether it was worth taking Bloodhound at all. The use of radar there, excellent, as not so excellent for Nice Girl, picked off at a canter by Incep. Veneer potentially down to just 2 players, actually, I think. There is the revive coming through. So there was an engage whilst we were looking at that other engage on the other side of Fissure, and Veneer effectively late game third-partying Nice Girls weren't able to recover in time or just were completely caught off guard. That's a really big pick here for Veneer.
And I hesitate to say that EOS breathe a sigh of relief, but they can definitely relax a little bit more now because Nice Girls was the one squad that was just like EOS, still managing to place really consistently throughout the last 2 games, with our final one now being on World's Edge. They don't have to worry about that anymore. It's EOS's opportunity to expand that gap between first and second to a point that should be difficult to overcome once we hit Storm Point. And make no mistake, EOS are not going to be slouching on Storm Point either. So it will be a race to the top. Veneer have done the work of EOS for them and now need to make their own argument for why they should be featured in that top 3 position. Playing around the outside of Lava Fisher, they're predicting a zone end out here. That's why you end up taking buildings, or rather RVs, like Yusaki is right now. And well, it's a risky prediction. Should the ring actually pull this way, they are in God's spot.
The Loch Nessies go, I don't know how far away Renison was, but I mean, it seems like they're in different postal codes at the moment. Loch Nessies all over the lake, and although we're getting some shots off, we're not exactly finding much success. Lavillian, the shield popped, the health down below 50%, even Vipay here forced into a bit of health regen themselves, up on their lonesome here on the lookout. And who are they looking to engage here potentially? I would mention, by the way, comms still in and around. Samurai Sky picking up 3 kills as of now. There's the squad relocation between us, Dugfield, although we are unsure of their identification papers as of yet. A thermal grenade goes out. A bit of desperation here from Loch Nessies as it's Baby Ducks, Scarlet's Envy, and Rene on the other side of this fence. I believe that squad that you see relocating there now to Countdown might be turning around to take a little look. But watch out for Odd and Yoikas here. EOS taking control of Landslide.
Should have the beacon to farm up there, which is really the most important part. I'm taking a look at the top left hand of my screen as well and noticing what EOS are going to as soon as they manage to hit that beacon up. That Lava Fisher is indeed where this zone is going, all the way there, and some teams evidently are not going to make it as
Very
in
nice.
that grab lift out went the squad. And
Very nice.
no elimination just yet.
That's such a nice play from Loch Nessies, using the Wraith portal to their advantage. Incredibly smart. And now, of course, although positionally they have an advantage with some cover, unfortunately, they've got 2 teams' attention. Of course, over in Countdown, plenty of charge rifles firing away. Renison is gone, and so Loch Nessies is going down too. They're going to be very well aware of that. And back through the Wraith portal, I fear for Loch Nessies. They made it to the top 12, but I think that P11 might just be a stretch too far. Vipay weaving in and out of the steelwork, popping a small, albeit necessary shield cell, just trying to evade the concern and the aggression of Lust as they've decided to just stay in their cabin and just recharge the shielding. I'm not surprised by that. They don't have to worry about putting their necks out on the line, throwing themselves out into a lack of cover just to try and take down one person.
The extra kill going to be, as you say, more than enough, and especially with the limited amount of time to get into this next zone. The following zone that's going to close is Zone 3. It is, as I like to say, when the zone stops messing around. And Lust do not have the luxury of being able to watch it happen. Finding knock the Kraber in the meantime, so that we don't see it on screen.
On Odd
It's
as well.
impressive nonetheless. Goodbye, Odd.
Oh my goodness. Do we almost have a Kraber as well? My goodness, that was an
Actually
immediate
might.
shield pop, and that was an immediate 90% health removal. And I would pop the medkit now if I were you, Wade, because especially if it's EOS that you're trying to ruffle the feathers of, maybe better to be safe rather than sorry. Janie popping a couple of shots, as we can see there, missing Zodia. Has lost about half of her shield as well. Yoikas watching brief. Oh, there's a bit of utility, and there he goes. It's just a nice throw out, but I don't know why Janie has necessarily. I mean, to be fair, finish off Odd. Why not? I mean, that was Ava taking the kill in the end, but I can understand the flanking to just try and separate the attention there. But EOS caught out of position here. Odd now, yes, the banner is retrievable, dear, but are they going to be able to get it? Because JSA acting as watchdogs here.
I mean, if I'm taking JSA as historical evidence, EOS should be able to survive this. given how well JSA played as a two-person squad going into the late game of game number 2. But as you talk about, it's just become immensely more difficult. No real respawn beacon in sight for this squad, and while a care package right next door is incredibly tempting, JSA have already moved on. So we'll watch EOS and see whether they're able to get their third right back in, or how well they're able to persevere throughout the next couple minutes. Actually getting the read that there are multiple squads in the area. I don't like Ava's positioning. You're a little far out of cover. They're going to go on the aggressive anyways. Nobody's looking to punish this. Instead, that's going to be rained down by JSA. That Kraber shot not quite connecting. Get taken out in the meantime. Ava gets punished for lack of cover. Now, very little shields left. No vertical play. It is still just an out-angling of patience game for JSA.
Yeah, it's very different to Split 1. JSA nowadays, you'd be a little bit more wary if they go ultra aggressive like this. We got Vana. They're still up, and they're going to throw the Valkyrie ult. They're abandoning the teammates, and I'm not surprised because JSA have had to turn around and have a look at what's on the other side. They ultimately get Miss a deal, so that's another kill to add to the collection. And I did notice Veneer there taking down, I think it was Samurai Sky of Comms. They're not out of the woods just yet. Comms are still in and around, but I believe that Samurai Sky is now not a part of the conversation any longer. XL almost make the top 10. That would have been their best result. I still think it is actually their best result of the day, but nevertheless not good enough really to be threatening the top 5 points-wise. As Lust, they've done very well for themselves. They've picked up a couple of KP, and you can see there's so many squads in front of them as EOS, well, we were saying that they might be in trouble with just 2. Hot Cheeto from Control Freaks confirms the kill.
So what was a game where EOS could have taken the advantage they already have and confirmed it, pushed even further away from the second place squad Nice Girls. Now it's turned into a game where they got 1 or 2 more points, but realistically that advantage has not stretched at all. Instead, so many other teams now have the opportunity to take that top spot. It was Veneer that pushed out Nice Girls earlier. It was Veneer that were holding the south side that EOS really wanted in on. And now it's Veneer that really have some of the best opportunity, especially if they can hold out JSA, who will need to rotate in from this now western side.
I'm loving the look of JSA. LNW eliminated. The numbers for you, by the way. EOS pick up placement points for 10th. They pick up only 3 kill points, and their Doom Singers, Control Freaks, they drop out as squad number 8. I'm really liking the look of Veneer and JSA going into our final couple of circles. So you can see GSA there, southwest, as we look at the overview of the map. At the top of your map, you can see Lust there arriving from Countdown. Got Gigalautum, Nessie Kins, and YOLO Nicole. And look at Pyfe there. Look at Pyfe all on their lonesome there in the rat spot. The last survivor of her squad. How long will she be able to survive?
Gigalautum putting up a similar performance, trying desperately to, with the caustic, survive as long as possible to hold up that flower power name. Veneer, still a big focus for us, though, as INSAP is doing a great job of controlling the high ground up against JSA, who were thinking of pushing in. Luciana throwing in a few shots there as well. But we're looking at the next ring and how it's going to pull. It looks like it's pulling us even further south, where technically JSA will still be in zone, and it'll be Veneer that have so much more to focus on in terms of squads that will be approaching from this eastern side. That is when JSA can pounce. That is when they can make Veneer weak and remove them from the running, pushing JSA to the top.
Important to note that Gigalautum, of course, on Flower Power, but Nessikins, for example, and YOLO Nicole, both on TLN as they engage now. Lust have decided to encroach on Veneer's territory. Of course, they relieved it from Nice Girls earlier on. The shield pop trying to get the kill. Yusaki not able to get it just yet. Further shield pop here, and the down, and the kill. No, not eventually. Nice shield turn here as Flower Power are eliminated. Gigalautum not able to survive. GM gone as well. Vanarex ratted out of the rat hole. Lust gone too. So they eventually dropped to the ring. Veneer, more KP for them.
Now playing really carefully up against JSA. It is realistically, Relic, a fight between these two squads, and it's JSA that have so much more room. Janie, really, the one in the most trouble as other squads can look up, can 3-2-1 this, and I think playing safely going to be the best bet for both teams right now. Really appreciating the way that Veneer are huddled up in this building, knowing that other teams will have to fight JSA first, but it depends so much on how this next ring goes, who it's going to favor. If it pulls to Veneer, JSA have the screws put to them in terms of decision making, and it's going to have to be ordinances that make the difference. If this zone instead pulls out towards JSA, Veneer have no options.
They really don't. They got a back door that leads straight into the ring, and that is dangerous at this stage. I do want to give another shout out, by the way, to both Pyfe and Yolo Nicole and Nessikins. Their TLN and comms guaranteed good placement points because of their efforts, and they are not going to get involved in this 3v fight for as long as they can. We do have some pot shots, I believe, from TLN, as of course they do have a major flanking advantage on JSA. Lutzi picking up a bit of damage. She's the furthest out here. She's going to have to move in eventually, as our VRN, they're going to have to move out of their hidey hole too. Comms is eliminated. Arva with a quick pick. Pyfe, that's some good points for comms, so they are going to gain a points advantage, I believe, on EOS. Yusaki moves forward and out early on. Janie, Avali, and Lutz, that's easy pickings. Down they go. Veneer might have overplayed this. Yusaki, that's not the best play. Sold the team short. And watch out for TLN now. Looking to third party the lot. Avali down to lower shields. Somehow Shiroski's still open. Nessikins here. Veneer's eliminated. Lutzi gone as well. Janie and Avali now look to turn around on Nessikins. JSA back on top, baby.
That was absolutely the move, and while we watched JSA very quickly recognize the mispositioning that had just happened in front of them, I wept for Yusaki, and not just because she's my boss, Relic, but because I saw that misposition and knew exactly what the right move was. JSA, with impressive coordination, put up a 17-kill game, 29 points, tied with their best performances from the past couple weeks.
And that, all of a sudden, blows open the race to win the series, heading on to Storm Point. EOS only picking up 5. Comms, yes, outscoring them, but only by 4. Veneer picking up 18 as well. Gotta watch out for them. TLN gonna be delighted with 12, as will Lust. We have got a series on our hands. If JSA can carry that momentum into Storm Point, goodness me, we got a 3-horse race to the finish.
Yeah, now that they've officially entered the chat, the top couple scorers are going to have to be careful. It was, of course, a really difficult ring once again, and an odd one to pull out into Lava Fisher, but I have to applaud the predictions of teams like Nice Girls and Veneer to prioritize these positions early on towards the south of Lava Fisher. Even teams like Control Freaks and Flower Power really capitalized on locking down a few of these buildings, and it almost went their way.
Heading on to the second side of the screen, the lower side of the screen, we do have a full 5 teams with Donuts, Lavender, WKL, VSK, Team Nothing, and Guess Who. A lot of work to do. Even the likes of XL, Capybara, and Arc only picking up 1 point. Arc in a seriously precarious position given the quality of that squad. They're going to be hoping that Storm Point is a fresh reset. I liked what I saw from Nice Girls early on as well, but sadly, the victims of circumstance picking up 3 kills, but down before they hit the top 10. There are a lot of stories to wrap up then as we head on to Storm Point. 3 more games coming your way. It looks like a 3-horse race between the likes of JSA, EOS. We can throw Nice Girls potentially out of the window as Comms steps up to the plate. More on this then as match 4 is after this break. Storm Point awaits the ladies of the Soul League here in week 6 out of 9. Just Relic joined by Dia. JSA, whoa boy, you couldn't have put it much better myself. They have entered the chat, Dia. 29 points from game number 3. That puts them firmly in the picture to take on the leaders. And as you can see there, we had a brief look at the score. Maybe let's show the audience, shall we? Because it is quite a different story to what we had going into game 2.
JSA taking the lead by just that single point. Have EOS fuming, as it was actually JSA that really put them in that difficult to win position, whittling them down to just the 2 members. Now, while the gap between EOS and Nice Girls only grew by 1 point, it is still difficult to overcome, as it requires that EOS go out early for Nice Girls to really have a shot at clambering over that 10-point gap between them. So much of the late game has included teams like EOS, JSA, and Nice Girls that even with a win, it'll likely take at least 2 good games from Nice Girls to overcome that, and the same can be said for Comms, who have silently snuck up behind them.
Shout out to TLN and Team Nothing. Both have under 8 kills apiece. Actually, both of them added up don't even reach 10 kills, and yet they're in the top 10 through placement points. Of course, TLN making it all the way to 2nd place in game number 3. Just goes to show that although the kill points are the real tide turners in the overall scoreboard, those placement points are crucial for survival. Speaking of, the picture a little grimmer for those in the positions 15 to 20. Of course, the bottom 5 relegated to the Lunar League and currently occupying those spots. We have some teams who are on 0 points. Let's take a little look at 11th to 20th then on the leaderboard. And WKL, guess who? Still pointless. LNW, they've had their struggles. Of course, they had one game where they only had 2 of their players, understandably didn't make much headway in that one. The worrying one for me at the moment is Arc Deer, with Sabs and Peak, and it's Pika especially on that squad. You've got 2 of the most astute ladies in the scene. To see them in dire straits, they've got to have a real turnaround in this second half of the series.
It's quite a difficult game to watch just in game number 3 on World's Edge as well, because trying to play a building, they got pushed up on by Flower Power. And I have to say, if Arc are trying to take that same style and translate into Stormpoint, it's only going to get more difficult to watch, as Stormpoint's buildings are notoriously even more difficult to hold, and a good squad on Stormpoint is a mobile squad. And I don't just mean that in the sense of Valkyrie, Pathfinder, Vantage, what have you, movement abilities. I mean, get a kill and go. Constantly be on the move to your next POI, to that next power location, especially and even including in those end games.
And the good news for the likes of Arc, LNW, and indeed all of those in and around the bottom 5, because there has been such an egregious advantage taken by these teams like JSA, like EOS, for example, it means that any sort of top 10 performance that you can knit together, you're more than likely going to be picking up 3 to 4 kills just to get to that point in the first place. And even 4 points in total, Dia, can take Arc from in the relegation zone to out of it, albeit just. And so don't think about those wins, don't think about those podium or top 5 finishes. Just think about surviving your games first and foremost, because that could be the difference once we hit game 6.
It's got to be the focus for these teams, already having dropped onto Stormpoint for the very first time today. Most of our contests coming from World's Edge have cooled down, and as I say that, my eyes are drawn to Downed Beast, where we have arguably our biggest and only hot drop of the day, even Barometer being left alone for now.
And quite aptly, Loch Nessie's at the Downed Beast. Not much good in the way of shieldage. Early charge rifle here. The shield battery not going to do much good with this sort of shield for the moment, and still they are snubbed. They've spread out quite wide here, Loch Nessies. You can see there over on the beach side is where the 2 teammates of VFA lie. Loch Nessie's currently occupying 11th place, so not an awful day at the office necessarily, but I think that they've been quite fortunate here not to run into any of these players here. We've got a Maxime and I'm just going to double check which squad that is. So Maxime, Lavender, there we go. And of course, Lavender themselves, we know that they like to get aggressive. So I think more lucky rather than not, Loch Nessies.
Downed Beast, really notorious for being difficult to fight in as well. Despite how large the POI is, the gap between high and low ground, between inside and outside of Downed Beast is but a second away with the amount of zip lines and slidable territory that you've got everywhere. Loch Nessies have managed to take away that height for now, and it may just be that with the beacon scan already in hand, the Lavender have disengaged. To find all that out and more as Loch Nessies crest this shell to find that is in fact not the case, and the Bife is 1v3.
I know you come from the League of Legends scene, and I'd like to say that was a pretty decent gank, but now the tides have been turned. Pavilion goes down, Vipe the shields pop, same for Renaissance, and it feels like Lavender, their aggression could pay off here. That's a clutch kill from Vipe, but not clutch enough, because there goes Gem with a jewel of a pick.
Oh my god, that longbow! That single-handedly ruined the entire squad. Gem, MVP, and more for Lavender this game, as what was turning into a disastrous start very quickly turned into 3 clean KP, with those last ticks being dealt by a longbow with a 2x cruiser. I am just disgusted right now, Relic.
And while you're puking into the bin, let's talk about the fact that this is the first time that Lavender was actually actively engaged upon, as opposed to them doing the pushing. And what do you know? Up against the wall, they managed to turn that entire team fight around. That is a very healthy 3 KP already on the board for a team that is trying to stave off survival, or to stave off relegation, I should say. They've got a great vantage point as well. They're in the ring. They can pick and plot their next move with a little bit of time on their hands.
Of course they're in the ring. Disgusting. Absolutely horrific. Lavender don't even feel the need to move, as that confidence, I'm sure, has really benefited them during this early game. But other squads will be coming to them, and I think the decision to stay here is not just because of height, but because of that beacon that they still have access to. It's still pretty wide open as to where this zone can go, and while it's looking like maybe mill, maybe checkpoint are both possibilities,
I mean,
you'd rather make sure.
You'd rather make sure, but also, I mean, obviously they don't know this particularly, but we could see a final ring at Down Beast, potentially towards the mill. We have seen that in weeks gone by on Storm Point, so perhaps Lavender may not have to move much at all, although I do still think it would benefit them, as we have another elimination, VSK gone. We, of course, did see the first squad going down in the form of Loch Nessies. So for Loch Nessies, not a great day at the office. VSK struggling for points. They're not going to like the fact that they're one of the first 3 squads out yet again. As Lavender are just waiting and looking. They do spot a squad over to the north side there, but for now there's no need to worry about them. But again, I do think they should move out from this position personally, just to try and survey the area a little bit more. Otherwise, they're just asking for trouble, I feel.
Yeah, they've got about a minute left until this zone closes. I'm actually going to put it a little bit closer to 2, and their time has not been wasted, I'll say. Lavender are getting a lot of crafting done in the meantime, and with the shields that they already have, being able to get some extra bats for engagements earlier is really useful. You'll notice that Gem hasn't moved on at all, despite the fact that they clearly need more ammunition for this longbow, and it's because they're just meant to scout to hold down the position for now. I, again, want to reiterate, I believe that the move for Lavender should be to hold on to this position, if possible, get that beacon scan after zone 1 closed, and then start to move in towards the next zone, because Arc at that point will be coming around the corner into Downed Beast, and with a Gibraltar, I'm sure they're ready to fight at close range.
Well, we have seen Gibraltar picked up a little bit more on Storm Point historically since the Soul League started up. That's a shield pick. Nice goals and crest step. Actually, you know what? That might not be a full shield break. There might be a little slither of shieldage still available. Not that that's going to matter. They're going in for the kills immediately. Through the mountain lift, Nice Girls will engage. Who are they engaging, however? They don't want to lose this fight because it was a very, very disappointing game number 3 for them. Only picked up kill points, really, as WKL is wiped off the map. That is a successful engage.
Surprised that it happened so quickly as well, since WKL, one of our only squads innovating with the lifeline and trying that out. They didn't get their opportunity to really demonstrate the power of that pick, but I'm really looking forward to the emergence of Lifeline in competitive. We've seen a lot of pro leagues already, and well, it's certainly not OP just yet. Being able to play around it has made it a lot better than the Catalyst to a lot of teams, and certainly provides some good staying power. Veneer, for their part, are starting to push up onto another squad. We know that Sabs was here earlier. Is Veneer engaging onto them? Already, Misaki popping that shield back. Not going to overextend this time. Has learned her lesson from last game. Around this corner, maybe throwing that extra bit of damage onto the Drupal.
It's definitely Arc, that much is for sure. You can see the shield break on the GBB. Another shield break on the Valkyrie now. Incept takes down Aramenta. Scarlet's Envy on the other side, by the way, taking down Yuasi and Netkins on Yusaki as well. Veneer getting into trouble. Arc not just into trouble, but they're out. They're gone. They are our fifth squad eliminated. Control Freaks was also dropped in the meanwhile. And check out JSA. Look, it's a third party this situation. LNW, they're gone on the opposite side of the map as JSA move in and they wipe the floor clean. Veneer's eliminated.
Powerhouse corner right here. Everyone and their mother showing up to this, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, octagonal building over in the northwestern side of the map. JSA, the ultimate victors of that, get to take out two of their biggest competitions as well. Arc and Veneer, in terms of mechanical skill, in terms of history in the scene, really are the teams that JSA would have on paper had to look out for. And, well, neither Veneer nor Arc is taking the top of the leaderboards today. JSA make that a certainty by taking them out, and with Excel falling right behind them, we're into the top 12.
I believe that was Nice Girls looking to engage, but it wasn't, because they've actually moved back in and around more centrally. They're engaging another squad here, Nice Girls, as we leave the JSA fight for the moment. Positionally, not a great scenario for the moment. Malvana almost had a shield knock, but found some cover briefly. And they have chased Mr. Deal, Vana, and Ainami. But watch out here for Samurai Sky, Pipe, and Wanda Nikki. Watching brief here are comms. And now choosing to engage as Nice Girls disengage. Some shots fired as they move down the hill. And now comms, they're on their bikes.
That was really sketching me out, the fact that comms chose not to fire their guns for so long.
Fourth party.
Now having forced Nice Girls down into this position where they're in the line of fire of not just them, but yet another squad. As you talked about, this constant pressure being applied from comms could still be turned on them. Wonder Nikki now having to pop the bat behind the rock with Malvana rotating around. It isn't an aggressive move by any means, but a flexible move from Nice Girls as they keep getting to back up. No team in front of them, but Malvana, almost having fallen, now has to spend so much time healing up. Forces Crestep to pop the ultimate, try and hold this team in place as Malvana did get that shield bat off. Crestep's in trouble playing on the roof. Peep is almost down. Pretty Bond Girl, Malvana still backing up, but Crestep has done such a good job of peeling off 3 members, and now he's going to be able to back up to the rest of the team. What a performance just to keep Nice Girls alive.
Crestep, the distraction. Pretty Bond Girl with some excellent marksmanship, as you rightly picked up on earlier, taking Pipe out of that fight. Couldn't support Wanda Nikki. Crestep, therefore, in a 1v1 scenario, still providing a distraction. Still, this fight continues on. GM have just checked out. They don't want a part of this as the two heavyweights go fist to fist. They go kick to kick. They go shield pop to health drop. Fife does not have a good shield situation. The Horizon utility forces Crestep back onto the floor. They're going to try and at least get that shielding back up. Oh, it's back up already. Samurai Sky now takes to the sky. Wanda Nikki joins them. Pretty Bond Girl in the house, though. Pife, that's where they are. Caught out of dodge here as here comes the shield. Oh, sorry, the shield. The ring as well. It crosses over. It's do or die here between two of the squads that we expect to see as Samurai Sky keeps them locked inside. Excellent work here from Samurai Sky. Have they got the health to be able to keep themselves alive? Flower Power eliminated in the meanwhile. Samurai Sky, this is pure sadistic.
great defense has been put up by this squad, and Samurai Sky healing up on the low ground. The last remaining member of Comms has been completely turned on by Nice Girls, who controlled the inside of this building to perfection. Movana's been able to heal up almost entirely. Crestep just popped that medi as well, and since Samurai Sky is doing a great job, I mean, I want to give him props. The problem is they're not even going to make it into the top 10 as Comms can shoot through.
Nice Girls too strong. Samurai Sky, that was some excellent gameplay. I don't use that word often because I think it's just sort of like when you think gameplay, you think like trailers or whatever. But that was just pure tactical genius. Unfortunately, didn't save them in the end, as GM also meet their fates soon after. JSA continuing to rack up points. They've had the smell of blood and they keep on looking for more. They got a bit of lust as we join them.
Frying pan and into the fire for so many of these teams. Lust could even push more squads towards the JSA meat grinder that's set up in checkpoint. But playing around the outer edge of this ring right now, they've got a ways to go before moving up into a zone that, as you had predicted earlier, has continued to move us ever further north into the down beast area and right on top of where Lavender still stand.
Still there, still happy. And to be fair, they've made it into the top 10, a team that was being threatened by relegation. One of their better performances, if not their best performance of the day so far. As boring as it may seem, it's getting the results that they desire. Lust going for the relocation then. Through Scarlet Envy and that Valkyrie ult up above the tower. And towards the mill we go. It doesn't seem to be their destination. They do spot other squads not looking for the direct engage as of yet. More spotted here as they actually decide to go past this building. Maybe looking for the engage. They're on the hunt, they're on the chase. But no shots fired as of yet. Oh, the turnaround.
Almost no damage for that. EOS do fire a crater shot off into the distance, but really don't connect there with Exodia and Odd. Instead, looking for more damage. It's Yoikers that's got to join up, and evidently, Yoikers is going to get out of this just fine, albeit a little bit worse off in the men's department. EOS still get their corner of the ring to work with, but now are being fired on from all the way in the west. Yoikers in the open with no shields gets taken down as well, and it's just up to Odd, who more than likely shouldn't be pushed, but is going to have a difficult time rezzing as well.
It's a bold move, Cotton, but boy, did it pay off. There I was thinking, why did you place yourself in the middle of like 3 teams? And then all of a sudden, EOS getting a little bit too big for their boots. They're down to just 1 potential to pick up some banners. But then where are you going to respawn them if you don't have the mobile emitter? Dangerous position here for EOS as they are threatened with not necessarily an elimination outside of the top 10, but an elimination with not as many kills as they would like. Only 3 on the board once again as Baby Docs there takes a shot to the face, falls down the rock, and Lust looking in all directions. They're down to 2.
There's just there are too many teams here. That's it. There's not really a whole lot that you can do, especially if you're Renee or Scarlet sitting on top of this rock. You are the focus of at least 3 squads, and Lust may have picked a fight with too many. Maybe not still technically alive. Is just going to have to watch the rest of the team gets pushed even further onto the low ground into even worse positions. It's a miracle that Renee isn't being looked at from the bridge right now, and even still is eating Valk missiles from above.
I really don't think they should have shot because they've just given away their position indefinitely. EOS eliminated. That is a big one, especially with JSA still on the map. Lust eventually, they pay for their transgressions into the middle of a firefight through and through. Still, Lavender sitting so pretty up on the top of the beast as Capybara have done well to get to this point as well. They're, of course, one of the teams that was on the opposite side of Renee. A couple of picks here, a little pickpocketing from the shots, but potentially JSA there in and around that area as well. Looking to loot here, doing well, utilizing the bridge for cover. Very nicely done. Got the Newcastle shield down there as well. Quite a nice little hidey hole, you'd say. If it was a little bit further towards the ring, they are going to have to go into some pretty wide open area.
And Capybara do have to walk out, and even with the Newcastle, it's not super nice to do. That destructible shield, I think, I heard it once, it was PPPX or Raven, one of those two coaches that tweeted just, it felt like a nice little bit of comedy. The counter to Newcastle at all stages of the game is simply shooting your gun. And the problem with having to walk out of this cover by the bridge is that everyone is going to be shooting their guns at you. Even Lavender from up on this height have so much distance to cover, and yet are still able to do damage to at least 3 squads. And now, one landing too close to them might have provoked their ire.
Even the most sturdy of chocolate walls will melt on a summer's day. That much is for certain, as Lavender continue to just essentially play God at the moment. They are looking over everything, not getting too involved. A couple of pop shots here and there to improve their own shielded situation. Inside the beast, TLN, again, done so well to get to the top 6. One of the under-the-radar performance, really, of the entire day. Engaging against Belarui here, and iBreeze themselves have done pretty good here. Nessykins on top as well. And really, for both of these teams, even getting to this point in of itself, an excellent result, but they want to get that little bit further. The shield advantage, most certainly, with the trio closest to us. Over on the opposite side, Tabiola, YOLO, Nicole, watching, waiting for the heads to poke out. And all the meanwhile, Lavender just sitting and singing on top.
Yeah, this TLN versus Guess Who fight is actually really difficult to navigate. And I'm surprised that they're both alive for as long as they have been, even with the singular downed member here. That is not the gravity lift you were aiming for, unfortunately, though, Nicole. And it will still allow us to get right back to the team. Taviola, fortunately, should be able to stake this res, but everybody knows what's going on. And Guess Who are not going to let this go unpunished, pushing all the way up. Bella on a fantastic flank, and while this is spotted out by Nicole, it's pulled fire away from the front line. Taviola's not able to finish it either, and Luna's popped up to the high ground. Team fire is enough. The power of friendship wins once again, and TLN are taken out.
And that, in Guess Who, is one of our teams that needed to get some points on the board. They have done. Nice goals as well. Watch out if you are an EOS fan. JSA doing well. Nice girls back in the meaty placement points. Engaging now, potentially JSA, I think this is. Fresh step goes down. That's a massive pick here as Nice Girls. The shielding is gone. Brutal firefight here as the Horizon Black Hole brings everything to a close. Capybara eliminated, Nice Girls eliminated, and JSA continue to stomp.
That was a really good Horizon ult to finish the fight as well. Basically indestructible position, slightly behind the box. JSA are now ego-challing a longbow and getting away with it as Janie uses the Newcastle wall to perfection to make sure that the team is as safe as possible. Still 3 squads left, and with JSA on the low ground, their position may not look too good to a lot of other teams, but when we take a look up at that high ground, you'll notice that both of the other squads remaining are going to have to leave downed Beast at likely the same time, and that makes JSA's spot a lot more enviable.
The fact that Janie is kill leader on 7 tells you all you need to know about how much KP they've already accrued. This is a dangerous sign for everyone even thinking of speaking about that series overall leaderboard. I mean, we were asking, are they going to be able to carry their momentum from World's Edge to Storm Point? Well, yes, they are. They've already locked in top 3, as have Lavender, who are going to be breathing a sigh of relief. And given that the other opposition here is Guess Who, I think you'd place all your marbles on JSA at the moment.
10 seconds left until we have that moment of truth, as Guess Who and Lavender are both going to have to jump down. That longbow has not performed ever since Zone 1, and Gem and Maxine are still the only 2 in this game that are stuck on blue shields going into Zone number 6. It's spoken to a lack of KP from this squad ever since that initial zone, and now they absolutely need every point that they can get. Even grabbing a second place for an additional 2-3 points that could go with it would be absolutely crucial for them. Gem finally managed to tick up to purple. We're still waiting for Maxine to get that extra effective health, and you're only accruing even more cover as JSA on this low ground with the respawn beacons. The thing that I will caution everyone with is that with Horizon in the game, JSA's position can go from hero to zero really quickly, as those Horizon ults can pull you through walls, and JSA do not have effective ways of escaping this building.
To quote some Formula One cliche, it's not their battle. If you are Guess Who and Lavender, you're just fighting to survive. JSA are fighting to win, and that desire, that destiny that they see for themselves, it may very well be the overwhelming factor. You're right to point out the blue shielding, not ideal for Vanir as they continue to pepper the doorway that holds the team in the lead of the overall scoreboard. Moving out of the down beast now, you can see there Guess Who forced into the open. They are directly below Lavender, which means that Lavender do not have eyesight on them yet. But wait for it. Just wait for it, because Lavender themselves, that mileage, that free real estate has been gobbled up. In they go, into the fire pit, into the frying pan, and JSA are ready to creme brulee. Oh, all of their shielding goes down to about 25%, but there's been some shield pops, massive shield pops here. Guess Who not looking good? It's a fight in the sky. There's fire in the sky, and JSA are gone. It means we're going to have a brand new winner, and that brand new winner is Guess Who. What a play.
Looking down at the destruction, you can only look back at that end game zone and weep, because it was a hellfire of not just Valk missiles, not just bullets, but gravity-changing elements like the singularities and the lifts that literally threw people out of the zone in the final moments. 9 kills for Guess Who to add to their 12 placement points gives them a 21-point game, but I gotta be honest, picking up the 3rd place finish there, JSA still managed to, with their kills, overcome that small deficit and place above Lavender.
How about this for a stat? According to our lovely board of wonderful numbers and stuff to sort of break down post-game, JSA in total had 17 kills, which means that they had so many downs that they could almost double their overall kill count from the actual game, which for me is mind-blowing. They could get the kills, they could get the downs, but they couldn't finish off the squads, and that has paid a heavy price come the end of the match. Yes, they extend their lead at the top of the scoreboard, but it could have been so much better.
It really is difficult, especially in games like these, to finish people off given the immense amount of damage that you're able to pump in over long distance. Stormpoint is such an open map, and honestly, it's what gave me a lot of hope for Lavender. Yes, they've only got 4 kills, but picking up that 2nd place still gives them the 13 points that really are quite valuable, especially in a game 4 like this. With only 2 games left on Stormpoint, Lavender being able to win that 50-50 ended up pushing them from what would have otherwise been a 6th, 7th place into 3rd, and changes their story for the better, at least in today's series.
Very heavily weighted game in favor of the top 6. As you can see, GM there in 10th, only picking up 2 points. You can therefore guess how solemn a look we must take at the bottom 10, because there are not many points to speak of down here. I guess that's a slight miss or misstep on the leaderboard's part, because XL have picked up 5, Vanir have picked up 4, so they should be really in the top 10, but Comms only with 1 point, Flower Power, LNW only with 1 point, and another pointless game for the likes of ARC and WKL. Only 2 more games now, dear, to pick it up, or they're going to be relegated to the Lunar League.
Yeah, this is where it comes down to the wire, and Game 5 is one of my favorites because it's where we get some of the teams towards the bottom of the leaderboard giving it their all, having that little bit of desperation in their gameplay, but where it hasn't broken into our top 10 yet, where everyone's still playing a very serious game. So you get a little bit more variation, especially on Stormpoint. We can look forward to game number 5 as being one of the ones that should define this series and really characterize which teams keep their cool and who cannot.
Guess Who surprise winners, but JSA remain top of the scoreboard. We enter our penultimate game after this break. TSM Janie taking the lead of the kills. And JSA remaining in the lead of the scoreboard, but many celebrations go around for Guess Who won in game number 4 here on our first on Stormpoint. Relic joined by Dia, and game 5, you've labeled it as your favorite through the series. I'd have to agree, especially in a series such as this one, because although JSA have taken that lead, and although we worried that they might run away with it, in the end, not quite. There is still a door open for the likes of Nice Girls, for the likes of Comms, to try and gain some momentum back here before that final series closing game.
Yeah, the door is, I will say, still open. The problem with it being that JSA, very difficult to contest in the early game. The way that they land and rotate through Stormpoint gives them a lot more space than they normally have on World's Edge, in a smaller map where people tend to rotate a little bit faster. Stormpoint, if you're not landing on somebody, there's a good chance you don't see them until that you both make it to the end game. And JSA have a lot of autonomy over what fights they choose to take and what rotations they elect as the least actionable in them. Loch Nessie evidently taking that 50-50 once again, eating a charge rifle, only 9 damage on it from onto Loch Nessie's for now, and a res onto Lavillian. Ain't bad, it ain't bad.
Ooh, we already got a gold shield as well up there, looking for the self-revive. Not going to happen, so I can only assume that this is Lavender who Loch Nessies are going up against. They do not want to see a repeat of what happened in the beginning of game number 4. Otherwise, they might want to consider a slightly different entry point. Excel eliminated, so it is not going to be the Loch Nessies first out. The revive not off on VFei. Going to have to try that again. They will be given the time to do so. More shots being fired out. So curious to see if this is indeed Lavender. As the Incendiary goes through. Oh, shots find their mark, but no down yet.
I'm shocked that that isn't a knock with the amount of damage that was put in with the 301 combining with that Thermite. Lavillian, though, full thirsted now as it's Piku that picks up the kill, coming in on a third-party journey and being able to actually pick up a full thirst.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it's the third party. I just think it's Arc, honestly. I think it's just Arc here, which, my goodness me, they need the KP. As down there's Sabs, yep, confirmed, is Arc as VFei drops 2, and Renaissance is going to have to run their little hearts out along the beach, because these are some important picks for Arc. There is Lavender, who are now on the hunt themselves. Arc, they're in the bottom 5. They have not gotten more than 3 points in any of the games thus far, and Lavender in a much better position shield-wise than they were really at any point through game number 4. This is a messy disengage, if it's a disengage at all, for Arc here, as they once again return to underneath the cover of the downed beast. There has been some decent damage done on these shields of Lavender, but a precarious situation here for a team that is threatened with relegation.
KP Bubble's going to be up soon for Arc on the low ground. They can afford to stick around, play this low that nobody else can jump onto. Amari having to run away, tagged up by Armenta, but able to just barely dip and dive into the building. Lavender still up, and they're still joined by, again, that third squad in the area. Loch Nessies, who had that original fight with Lavender, have now gotten the chance to reset. Rena's still sitting in the back of this POI waiting, we can only assume with banners for right now, as the rest of the fight evolves and Arc continue on the offensive.
Now watch out for Renaissance here as well, who I believe has just positioned themselves up onto the down beast. Yes, they are a solo, but if there's any chance to pick off squads or get some more KP, that'll be a chance well taken. A lot of damage eaten by its Piku here. Sab throws out the Horizon ult, but everyone else has moved over to the eastern side of this building. That's where we find Araminta and its Piku. It's just the two up here, Maxine and Gem. Gem, of course, with no shielding. Maxine now neither with shielding. Oh, precarious for Arc. They're up against 2 with no shielding, but Arc clutch it up. There must be 30% total health between the two of them, and that might just be the sword in the throat for Arc in this series.
Gem managed to clutch it up in game number 1 on Stormpoint. It was Maxine that clutched it up on game number 2. Everyone on Lavender is getting their time in the sun. And they do pick up, though it isn't on Loch Nessies, 3 kills once again. The ring pretty close by, and with the ring 1 really not dealing too much damage, they'll have the opportunity to move their way in, likely towards the north of this zone, and avoid a whole lot of fighting that'll be happening around the rest of the map. EOS actually running up with the last member of Loch Ness in checkpoint as we speak.
Flower Power looking to at least try and get a chokehold on some. I imagine they've got a tabs on one team here, otherwise they wouldn't be so far inside the ring, continuing to move up and around, relocate. As Giggle Autumn leads the charge, they'll be hoping not to run into anyone else. As we join Taviola, Yolo Nicole, and Nessie Kins here, some mixed results for this squad, but a moment to breathe as they look down the mountain with a charge rifle, and sadly for them, see absolutely nothing.
Charge rifle gaming. It's all about the charge rifle. TLN though, without the height gifted to them by the next zone, are going to have to move to a slightly better spot than the look of it. We haven't actually got that scan on where the zone will ultimately move us, but yeah, there we go. Shield swap, then the bat gives EOS a whole lot more health than they've had otherwise. It is evident, though, they've got a little bit more competition in this area than they originally had guessed for, chasing down a solo as Rezzes have actually come in. And we've got all of Loch Nessie's back into it, albeit on white shields, but alive nonetheless.
I did say that Redison had come back to maybe do a little bit of scouting, picked up both the banners. And so that engage between Arc and Lavender actually turned out pretty okay for them. GM gone already down to the top 15 teams, but great credit to Renaissance, since Loch Nessies are allowed to survive for another day. And yes, they might be low on shielding, but now it's about becoming a bit of a clean-up crew. Watch others fight, and then whatever is available. Ooh, that's a huge pick there from Crestep on Ivories. Chasing them down, I'll let you take the swap.
Looking like Nice Girls have already just finished off the kill that was left for dead. So Lunacy should be able to escape up towards Command Center. I'm not expecting Nice Girls to over-prioritize this, because while they are an incredible fighting squad, their focus has also consistently been good positioning for Ring. We saw them take a rotation much similar in game number 1 when we pulled a little bit further down towards the south, and this time around they'll be able to stick up a little further towards the high ground.
Did a missile take them out in midair? That's brutal. And now Renee, well, that's not exactly a good look for her, as she ran away from JSA and ran into everyone else. Oh, Renee, Lust eliminated. Loch Nessies also go down, clearly, despite the heroics from Renaissance, not able to keep them alive for too much longer. Now a third party is LNW engaged on JSA.
That's a risky engage, to be sure. Horizon Ult actually well positioned
Ooh,
to pull
what a
Vendetta
pick.
back and stall out that pick, but yet JSA do lose just the one. LNW playing patient and resetting on the outside, knowing they have numbers advantage. Lutzi actually challenging on the exact same height. It's going to get pushed by 3. It is disaster for JSA. They're going to get shut down early. Amelie's down. JSA are out, and 12 squads are left. Not even top 10 for JSA.
And can we appreciate how well LNW played that? There was almost a bit of ego from Lutz going up onto the top of the roof, not thinking that LNW were going to be brave enough to take the time to get over and on top of that building, but no, caught out. And because Avalie wasn't there, the firepower simply too much. That's it. LNW have been forced all the way back. Ping, charge, ripple, chasing them into the waters. And Vendetka's been lucky here, because there's Armory, Gem, and Maxine Lavender make the save, and LNW survive to see another day.
Did they manage to, at any point there, grab a banner? Because there is a respawn beacon right next to them as well, and the unfortunate answer is no, as Oinazia isn't going to be able to be rezzed here, despite the fact that that beacon is sitting tantalizingly close to the LNW squad. They will have a crafter to be able to set themselves up for success in the future as just a 2-person team, but LNW's journey not going to get any easier. The zone will continue to pull north. They will be pushed out of bounds and will have to rotate through Cascade Falls or the open area on the low ground, and I'm not sure which I hate more.
Many eyebrows raised, though, no doubt, to see JSA pop up in the kill feed. That is a welcome sign to a lot of the teams chasing. LNW perhaps a little bit too far away from scoring money this time around. Reminder, a $300 prize pool given out to the top three, $160 going to first place. As Veneer inside the ring, a lot of vendors utilized. And Veneer, I think, are just going to be happy to try and make it to the top 10. They've had successive poor appearances here. Again, not all of their own doing, just caught out, victimized, you could say. But looks like Shiroski here. Some hot shots, and across the way, there is a team under fire. Yusaki finally gets that syringe off as they look to press forward and get a few more KP to add to the tally they've already accrued.
Just like the election of Veneer last week, they've chosen to go with the Pathfinder once more this time around. Whenever we get to Storm Point, Veneer do really like being able to make use of the faster rotations given them by this Pathfinder to move down, in this case, the hill, and into the next zone. They disengage from that fight effectively, but it does mean that they have a lot less, I'll say, like, anchor / large rotational ability. The reposition that Valkyrie gives you on a macro scale, not going to be replaced by a Pathfinder, and nor will the utility of a Newcastle or a Gibraltar. It is a heavy fighting comp that Veneer have. They cannot go over or around squads, they must go through them.
It gives you a direct option to reposition, and I do like the option that they are taking here with Pathfinder. Always been one of my favorites, but you have to certainly look at other options like your meta choices and think, well, surely just for your anchorage, like you say, that's the better way to go. Certainly Flower Power already in a spot of difficulty here as Wonder Nikki, Pipe, and Samurai Sky are on the scene. Miss Dopey caught out by the Horizon Ultimate, and looks like Comms is going to be picking up another team kill. Clara at work and Giggle Autumn, their shields have been popped. Miss Dopey able to get away, but down goes one. Oh, Clara able to get the shielding off behind the Newcastle utility there. Miss Dopey behind the waterfall will be forced to run away. A reactionary hellfire towards the mountainside, but that's a good couple of KP here for Comms, as they know that they can capitalize on a JSA down. They are going to finish off Giggle Autumn there. Ultimately, good trade here for 5.
KP. Nice Girls, however, again, similar rotation as they had in game number 4. They've continued with this same trend. That's especially with that Prime by Mulvana. That is the biggest turn, and the one that Nice Girls absolutely needed, as now it's just not being caught. YOLO Nicole down on the outside. Flower Power eliminated, and the Nice Girls are starting to take control in the north.
Unloaded the clip into the belly of that player. Just destruction at its finest as EOS is gone. Off screen, Woomy finishes off missing Zodia. So EOS only just about make the top 10. Nice Girls and Comms. This is the game they have been waiting for. This is a turnaround to potentially secure their spot in the top 3 at the very least.
EOS not going to be the queens of Storm Point this time around, and that Nice Girl story that you mentioned is really starting to take shape. But take a look at the further ring. We've got so much action piling up in the north, and even as it happens, even as squads continue to fall, there are still more arriving for these kills, where we'll have to be looking towards this bottom of the ring to see where they ultimately end up. You have to go so far to make it down into the south, and Lavender and Capybara unfortunately won't be doing it.
Ooh, Nice Girls on top of the building. TLN is eliminated. 5 squads left. And no doubt Veneer would have caught sight of that. But watch out behind them, Strawberry. I'm not sure if this is just a solo player here looking to stay out of the conversation, or whether there is more to this than meets the eye. For the moment, Yusaki really caught in a bit of no man's land. Again, the airstrike is going to chip off a little bit more health, but Yusaki has got the shield pop, able to rotate in and around with her team. Shiroski and Inset both with red shielding, and this is a smart disengage. There is a positional advantage to be had here for the Nice Girls, and they just need a little bit of a breather to restore those shields to maximum.
And that they will have, as through the low ground, there's a lot of cover separating them from Nice Girls, who even further have chosen to take the opposite rotation and have pitted themselves up against comms around the edge of the zone. Not a whole lot of cover here for Nice Girls when we look down towards the south, but for this specific 3v3, they will be just fine. Having been spotted by yet another squad, though, things start to look a little
Ooh.
bit iffy, as we mentioned, there simply isn't that much that allows Nice Girls to play a fight on two fronts. INSAP has already dealt the necessary damage, continues to move a little bit further down and join the rest of Veneer, but Nice Girls are put in a really difficult spot with Peef now taking away that high ground and Comms sandwiching Nice Girls in between Veneer and them.
Such a clever play from Pipe as well. They know that at least one squad, they don't know who it is, but they know that another squad are on the other sides of the ridge. So all you got to do is push and push and push and curtail Nice Girls into a real just crunch hold, which has happened now. The ring once again encroaches, it stops, and to be fair to Nice Girls, they have survived a lot longer than I would have given them credit for. They are finally eliminated, and now Veneer perhaps looking to put the sword into the already damaged comms squad. That said, they've got to be careful, because just look behind them.
Just two alive. Comms are somehow able to reset on this rock. They've got the Valcult and they've got all of Cascade still available to them, as no other team has chosen to rotate up and into Comms that way. So this reset means so much more than we would have otherwise thought, as down here, Veneer are not nearly so lucky, having encountered yet another squad. They are going to have a much more difficult time making their way out of. WKL on top, still running that lifeline, have the constant resets as long as Woomy is up.
They were one of only two teams to have 0 points on the board, WKL. What a massive game it is for them. But is it going to be massive in the sense of they just score points, or is it going to be massive in the sense of they pull themselves out of a very tight relegation zone? Difficult engage here, but they're doing pretty well. Woomy, the shield popped, as is Cams. Veneer starting to turn the tides of battle. Upelia, their shield's gone as well. In fact, they're completely down. Shiroski in Sep. Down goes another. Cams is forced underneath the building. A slither of health is not going to be enough, as Shiroski ends Lupelia's life with the engage. This is the worry. This is the problem. As Comms heard the firefight, they move their way around the mountain. WKL is eliminated, but Veneer have done well to just push themselves back a little bit, get inside the building. They're able to reload those shields, and Pipe and Samurai Sky, they've already had a little bit of damage taken, forced to shield pop themselves. Veneer, when are they going to engage? If they're going to engage, 3 squads remain, and Strawberry's still there.
It's literally just the Rat from Team Nothing, sitting around hoping to get second place. I believe Veneer have spotted this for now, but cannot afford to push out, since comms are on the high ground and will certainly beam anyone who is caught rotating down to the low. As the zone starts to close in, it is without a doubt comms that have the best position on this height. So few angles can be found onto this team, but once Veneer leave this house, everything is going to go to chaos.
You might remember game 2, Yeoli of Team Nothing was also a lone rat in the final stages, and so Team Nothing have a bit of a precedent for this, really. If you're not going to win the game as a rat, just stay alive as long as possible. It's bearing so much fruit. But that said, the fruits of the labor surely are going to be won out by one of either Veneer or Comms. If you're Comms, you're further ahead in terms of the point standings. If you're Veneer, you know that you simply have to win this in order to stay relevant in the conversation for the money. Wonder Nikki on the far side of the building. You got Pipe and Samurai Sky also on top. Veneer are stuck inside the building. Positionally, dear, Comms with the advantage.
There's really only one exit here, but it's an exit that we've seen claim lives before. JSA, exactly where Pipe what is now, previously expired due to an overextension, and the very fact that both doors are being controlled can only last for so long when we know exactly where Veneer are stacking up. Yusaki, considering the options for this squad, is going to have to be the ultimate call on where they go, and Strawberry is certain through that exit to throw some fire into the mix as well. Look at the back exit here. See if that gravity lift happens, because Veneer have got to try something that is completely unexpected.
Well, Shiroski was briefly on top of the building and then went right back inside. Strawberry is going to be out of that cover sooner rather than later, but are Veneer and Comms going to be more interested in themselves? You can see Samurai Sky's got the Overwatch, and Strawberry forced out into the open, and there they go eventually. Comms made sure that they were not going to be a part of this conversation. It's down to 3v3. Remember, Veneer still all inside the building. They are going to have to come out eventually. Samurai Sky, Python, Wonder Nicky, here's the utility for the Horizon. Incept, up they go. Get some good shots away. The Horizon response here as Comms goes up into the sky. Incept, the shield is knocked. Wonder Nicky, the shield is dropped. That's a drop indeed for Veneer as Wonder Nicky still without shielding. Looking really good for Veneer actually as Pipe stays alive. Samurai Sky though takes the ultimate kill. Comms become champions in game number 5.
Great play from Comms at the end, and what was a 13 kill game jumped up to 16 kills with the addition of the 12 points from placement alone. The first place really meaning a lot to this squad that, as you talked about, was already in our conversation for one of the top teams today. A 28-point game to finish off game 5. You can see why it's my favorite Relic.
28 points, 16 kills. Don't count out Comms just yet, especially with the dire games that were endured by EOS and JSA. We believe that this scoreboard might be slightly incorrect once again. EOS only picking up 2 points. A bit of a spoiler for the bottom half of this 20-team field. Veneer doing really well, though, 19 points. Going to be a long shot from here, but the podium's still well within reach. WKL with a mightily needed 8 points. I believe they're going to have another good round in game number 6, but they've given themselves a lift up. Lavender as well with 8 points to add to us. A gluttony of points that they accrued in game number 4. Looking good for them. Heading into the bottom half of the leaderboard, or roughly speaking, the bottom half of the leaderboard. There we can say confirmation. JSA, only 3 points. VSK picking up 3 points despite no placement points. More disappointment for Flower Power. More disappointment for Arc. Only 2 KP. They just cannot get out of the bottom 5, dear.
It's been really difficult. I feel almost like they're cursed because on paper, especially Flower Power and Arc are incredibly talented. They should be in the conversation for top 5, at the very least top 10, and yet they are continually falling behind just due to really unlucky early game fights, or at least, again, that's how it looks from the outside. But when you see these results replicated game after game, and if this goes on week after week, you've got to start asking yourselves how these teams can be making decisions better to not be in those situations in the first place.
It's been a split where a lot of teams have been chopping and changing. Some changes more successful than others. Those changes are simply going to have to be successful as we approach our final game. Game number 6, it'll be on Storm Point. A winner is decided after this break. Well, the battle for the overall kills is looking nice and spicy. 17 apiece there for Shiro and Janie. And I imagine that the overall winners competition is going to be looking pretty spicy once you have a look at that overall leaderboard. Myself being Relic, him being Deer. A big shout out once again to Etski, and perhaps less spicy than I was imagining. Nice Girls, Comms, Veneer. Wait a second, wasn't Veneer already on 35? Maybe a little bit of shenanigans here, but JSA, at least by this leaderboard, still leading by 12. Quite, I wouldn't say insurmountable, but quite the tall mountain to try and get over if you are EOS.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen JSA go out early before, so there's absolutely a world where EOS come back. But the thing is that their performance on Stormpoint this week, and again, totally uncharacteristically, just hasn't been up to snuff, where Nice Girls have had a much more consistent game plan across the day. You'll notice, however, that taking a look at the way that EOS and Nice Girls damage is distributed, that they're almost even in that, but pretty darn separated in the kills, which is an interesting factoid, especially when we consider your point 2 games ago about how JSA were struggling to close out kills. Nice Girls, even more so.
12 points. That is what they're aiming for. But for the relegation fight, of course, you have to bring that counter down a little bit more. Of course, shout out to Lavender, who've managed to just bring home so many points that they now find themselves in the top 10. But in the bottom 10, and more concretely in the bottom 5, you will find the likes of Arc, who, to say that they've had a tough day at the office would be an understatement. They've only picked up a couple of points here or there. 3 in total. WKL, we know that they've actually scored points, and so I think that this leaderboard is slightly incorrect as things stand, but nevertheless, Arc is on not many points at all, and they themselves are going to be looking for potentially even a top 5 to try and guarantee themselves their continued presence in the Soul League.
It's our broad strokes leaderboard, powered by Bob Ross. happy little changes in numbers, but the picture remains the same, isn't it? And it is a beautiful picture. It's one that still gives us that look at a team and a league that is continuing to develop as teams get swapped up. Teamfight coordination continues to be built, and the rotations are getting even better. For our last game on Stormpoint, the last game of this week, we've got a lot to look forward to, Relic, and it's time that we jump on to Stormpoint to figure it all out.
And you know what? The most fun thing about a leaderboard that isn't entirely correct is that we don't know actually how close the top teams are. So it's going to be a surprise for everyone, quite frankly. And it does mean that those top 5 teams are going to be they're going to have to be at their absolute best. Any early falls here, and you can basically count yourself out of the conversation. As we join Lavender, and once again they find themselves at the down beast. Once again they find themselves immediately into a team fight. I wonder who this could be.
Arc might third party this again. I'm not sure how scarred they're going to be, but the back off from Lavender is quick, because for the first time in this engagement, they're not fight first, and instead give that up entirely, instead opting onto the low ground. Gem's going to be a little bit out in the open, and Lavender are forced into the belly of the beast, literally, and quite far away from the zone as well.
Now comes to see a utility. Just looking to poke out the side here, and watching out for the flanks. That's the sound of a third party to me. Both Gem and Maxine. Shields pops. Amaris goes down as well. Dangerous here for Lavender. They're caught between a rock, a hard place, and a very, very fiery place. That fiery place means that they are potentially the first team down. It's all up to Gem. Throws the frag. Doesn't even fully disengage until now. Gets a big hit there. Potentially shield drop. But Lavender is the first team eliminated. Thankfully for them, they should be safely through to next week with how many points they're able to work in for life.
Unfortunately for the Lost Nesses, that victory, well, not empty, well, still full of 3 points, isn't going to really give them the successful run that they were looking for. Lust on the third party, and who have whipped out the Lifeline Octane Wraith for this final game on Stormpoint. Have not only the go buttons to keep this damage but to finish off these kills and likely turn it into a little bit more. Loch Nesses do finally go down. A quick tap will have Baby Ducks right back into the game, and it's Lust that cleans up.
Baby Ducks go zoom and straight into a great flanking maneuver. Lust picking up some early KP again, just looking to consolidate their mid-table position. Very, very, very outside chance of potentially getting in the money if you want to be optimistic, but I fear that that is as tall a mountain to climb as trying to say that JSA are washed in Split 2. They are far from it. They just simply haven't won yet, and I will maintain that until the very final week, until the very final possibility. They are almost certainly guaranteed a grand finals appearance, that much is for sure. A reminder that it is the top 15 from week number 9, on top of 5 wild cards. Basically just taking into account how many times you've been past the Soul League and how many kills you've taken overall. Maybe another kill here for Baby Ducks as their shield is eliminated. 2 Phoenix Kiss to utilize here. Nice flag. Oh, brilliant flag. Excellent down there from Baby Ducks, who once again goes behind the wall. This is a wonderfully worked maneuver here from Lust, who take out Arc. They are gone from the Soul League, relegated to Luna.
A really great fight from Lust, but a so sad performance from Arc at the very end. They came in for that third, we'll call it a fourth party this time, although I'm not sure what they knew and what they didn't. But the actual moves, the actual team fighting in this building, once again, just they come up a little bit short. And whether it's something that Arc need to reevaluate in terms of their game plan, whether it's literally just coming down to their mechanics in these close range fights, it's really hard to say, even from our perspective, where we do get to watch everyone engage. But it is something that, I mean, I'd be listening to Team Comms for to figure out what exactly is the disconnect from their perspective, because if they want to address this in future weeks, it's a really difficult thing to do.
I mean, Sabs, this is now the second, or the third team, I should say, that she's been with in 3 different weeks. Taken off JSA, Lutz in her place, and getting good money for it. Then she was on WKL last week, didn't do too well. Now she's on Arc and potentially relegated to Luna League once again. So when do you stick? When should you twist? Sabs not landing on her feet, but she is a very, very talented player. I'm sure she will find a new home eventually as EOS. They're still in with a long shot here. They have a chance to get a 3rd series win of the split. And engaging with medium to high success, or that's it, Eureka's shield popped down to 50% health. Looking for the engagement, Exodia enters the building, catches the Valkyrie off guard. Shield pop, but no down. Now onto the Bloodhound. No down once again. Down with the shielding. Here comes the second player. WKL eliminated, but there's a 3rd player still here. EOS. Oh, it's just up to Miss Exodia now. And they're gone. Ooh. Oh, picked up by a 3rd party. Wowzers, that escalated quickly.
And this is where things get tough, because while JSA were in a corner there, guess who have come to finish off these kills. Young already gone, but JSA joining them. At least these 2 members going to be eliminated, and 1 left standing to carry on that team banner to try and hold on to first place.
I was very interested in how close the leaderboard was overall. I am now very, very, very interested in seeing how actually close those top 5 are, because JSA are banking on placement points from here on out. There is no more avenue for KP unless they get extraordinarily lucky. If you're Comms, if you're Nice Girls, if you're Veneer, first place is up for grabs. You just got to take this game by the scruff of the neck and wring out every bit of oxygen left inside.
At this point, Veneer really would like to be able to move up those leaderboards. They're playing things slow and outside of zone, opting for these long-range fights, minimal risk, and plenty of sustain for them, as they do have that crafter right above. 14 teams left as well as that zone 1 closes. So our pace of game, even coming from just last game, has increased by a large margin. And you Yusaki able to heal up just around the outside of this zone. Finally, making their entryway into the nice peaceful part of Storm Point. Will be able to make the move with the rest of the squad down to the south and further out again into the west.
They're just waiting for this squad to eventually emerge, and they do find over to the northwest. Nice shots here put on by Yusaki. Got plenty of cover to work with as well, if not the weaponry to fully exploit this long-range encounter. Further pick, but the shield pop on Yusaki forces them back behind the container. Up moves Incep and Shiroski. Got the building advantage now, this squad that they're going up against, as JSA is eliminated! Oh, by Belrui and iBreeze! Wow, so JSA is fully gone. No more placement points for them. They're going to pick up one. A total of 1 deer.
One placement point, but yet another kill before they were ultimately eliminated for a total of 4 points this game. Pushes them up to 67 points on the day. And Veneer still have to contest that. I was going to say EOS, who were already eliminated. With still Nice Girls in the conversation, 45 points. It's real difficult as Flower Power push us down, eliminated, and now we're in the top 12.
They'd forget for Flower Power. They'll be hoping that the teams below them don't have an excellent final game. The likes of Lavender, for example, have already overtaken them. For Yusaki, so close to her down there, but just by staying alive, it keeps her presence an active thought in the mind of Flower Power, who were ultimately flanked and disassembled. A risky engage for Veneer, but a fruitful engage for Veneer. They move on into the top 12 towards the top 10. That's where we start to see placement points start to rise in value.
It's a really nice start for Veneer, but as you talked about, the placement points are really where it's been at for a lot of these squads. We talked about Nice Girls earlier being one of those teams that really does rely on getting later on into the game for the majority of their points so far, and that's still going to be true even now as we move down towards a zone that is pulling us into the southwest, perhaps towards Mill, perhaps towards the open area in between Jurassic Park and Cenote. There are a lot of options still, and with the beacon just down here, I certainly wouldn't mind if Veneer collected a little bit of that data for themselves.
Now, thank you very much, Etski. We have live updates of the points, I believe, going into this game as opposed to live updates. So JSA were on 66. Comms were on 64. So JSA, in only scoring 4 points total, are on 70. Comms, I can tell you right now, are on 3 KP. So Comms, as it stands, in the driver's seat for the series win.
Could take this away, and that is a terrifying prospect. And shout out to our observing team once more, our producer behind the scenes, that is allowing us to get access to this information, because it is crucial to have an updated leaderboard as you move into the last game of the day, especially when the scores are just that close, Relic.
I had a feeling. And down the bottom, we can see their ARC's elimination confirmed. WKL, I believe, also out. XL out. LNW, they've already been knocked out. So some big names in LNW and ARC already eliminated. And we saw Loch Ness's elimination too. So it seems like the relegation down to Lunar League has been all but sewn up. As for Veneer, they are now the closest challengers to Comms. They are going to have to put together the mightiest of kill streaks to overhaul what is roughly a 10-point advantage in the leaderboard.
Playing things slow now. I think once again we see them out by the edge of ring, looking to hold out as a squad instead of trying to push into zone and take away that dodge spot. It has worked for them to capitalize on the mistakes of others, forcing them into no-win scenarios, and they've absolutely been able to do that. It's dropping down onto the low ground. Horizontal will match or not. Yet another balls. Crest Step being the one to go down, as around the side, Nice Girls just watch their teammate get full thirsted and can do very little about it, with Moldana and Pretty Bond Girl hoping that Arc Star does a little bit of damage. We're all backed into a corner here, and I'm wondering why. We're 3 people. Let's go out and get some action.
Yeah, if they were waiting for 5 to pop the shields, but eventually just went right back down again. Look at Samurai Sky! Back into the rocky crevasse they go. just about getting away with it. Pretty Bond Girl and Malvana, they might have lost a teammate, but they are playing this scenario to perfection. They are just waiting so ever so patiently for this squad to come back out, because ultimately they have the positional advantage. Pretty Bond Girl, we've seen multiple times today already, a master at outflanking their opponent. Samurai Sky goes up once again, already down, already 2 shields popped. Malvana still up with her shield, despite it being edged away. Samurai Sky and Python, though, they now have the positional advantage themselves. A pop shield for Samurai Sky, but a down, massive down there from Pretty Bond Girl. Wanda Nikki, shield just hanging on in there. Samurai Sky, there's not much health behind that shield. Malvana chased away. Pretty Bond Girl, another fantastic flank. Perhaps didn't spot Wanda Nikki, however, who's popped the shield themselves. This turning around very quickly, dear, as Nice Girls are down to 1.
But Anakin, they have the high ground, and Samurai Sky has the knock as well. It's a 2v1, and as Samurai disengages, Wonder Nikki finishes what comms began minutes ago, eliminating Nice Girls and pushing themselves into that first place spot.
That was a little more hairy than Comms would have liked to admit it, or would have liked to have signed up for in the first place. GM eliminated, we're down to our top 10 teams. That includes Lust with kill leader Baby Ducks, the Octane, the sole Octane in the room, if my eyes do not deceive me. Those zoomies have been converted into killies. 5 for him, 5 for her, I should say. 3 for Renee, 1 for Scarlet's Envy, and now they look to potentially third party and engage here. We got, who's in there? So we got Lunatai, Eyebreeze, Yolo Nicole. Gotta watch out though, because I Love Noodle and Mighty Macaroni up on the side. Scarlet Envy spotted them, and all of a sudden the thoughts from third party and go to, oh, we've got a duo to knock out here.
Excel do have that theoretical good position, but as you talked about, not the numbers to back it up. This ridge line is incredibly powerful, and Lust know it as well as anyone else. Cleaning up that squad, Excel are out. We're into the top 9, and now, if you're Lust, go for it. Because guess who we're down? The third party is ripe for the picking, and with just Taviola alive, there's not a whole lot of places you can go. Renee's gonna clean up that kill, eliminating TLN, pushing us into the top 7, and keeping Lust in control of not just this ridge line, but everything to the south of it.
Yo, that's another top 10 finish for TLN, though. Underdogs of the day, for sure. Near, well, we were asking for them to have a massive performance in this final game. Comms are going to be loving the fact that it's just Incept up now. Managed to get a shield knock. Are they able to get the pick? Yusaki down and Shiroski down. That's 2 banners that need recovering as Comms eliminated. Over near Incept, you got to run away. You got to get the placement points, my lass. You got to run away now, and they're not going to be able to get away. They should pop the shield cell, but for how long will they survive? Not long. Veneer's eliminated. That might just be Comms' champion.
The last time that I was on Celestial Cup, it was Incept's birthday, and it ain't today. It absolutely ain't. That was not a gift, it was a curse, as the Lust picked up yet another squad, 8 kills, their best performance so far. And while we've been looking at the overall leaderboards and wondering how things are going to work out, Lust have taken their earlier performances and completely turned them on their head, blowing me away for honestly the first time in all 6 of today's games. Lust are now demonstrating incredible control, and if I'd seen this squad at the start of the day, I'd be thinking they were.
There's an engage across the river as they look to re-engage. Etsuki, are we able to have a look at the overall leaderboard again? Because we're talking about a serious number for Lust here. 16 kills on top of a guaranteed, locked-in, top 5 placement point haul. Could get even better for them. We might be looking at a 25 to 30 point swing here. Lust is on 34 points going into this game. They could be in the top 3, if not potentially winners, by the end of this. Team Nothing eliminated, Lust going in for the kills. I think they are going to have to get maybe 5 more kills here, Dia, at the very least, and win the game overall to get themselves the win overall. But from nowhere, Lust could win the series, and that is so exciting.
Grab a few right now. Doc goes down to help Lust heal up real quickly. With DSK gone, we're into the top 3 squads, and only 6 more KP is available for this team that needs to have the maximum amount of points. Both in buildings, but both having to exit and come to Lust. They've got God's Spot. They've got the kills. They've got red shields. Lust now need to be firing on all cylinders on a micro level to pick up every single bit of KP that's about to be thrown their way.
Capybara and Control Freaks. On other weeks, I would say that Control Freaks are good, but this is not the same Control Freak squad that we saw back in Split 1. They have changed around a lot as poor Charge Riffle's been completely caught out by Jasmine. Sarge fires off a few shots themselves, but Baby Ducks is going in for more. Baby Ducks, the Octane can't be stopped. There's another kill going the way of Lust as they look to perform the impossible. What a Game 6 story we have unraveling here. Baby Ducks is gone. They've been eliminated.
Just knocked for right now. There is the chance the Baby Ducks gets picked back up because we've got that lifeline, and Scarlet playing in the back right now is able to provide that support, but Winx is on the flank. They smell weakness even with the lifeline pickup. The re-knock has happened, and Scarlet now is 1v2. Lust is going to lose yet another member, and it's just Renee against 5 people who all need to die for Lust to grab that first place spot. It's not going to happen. It's a 1v2 for Renee, and Lust are gone in third. Their hopes, their dreams of first are crushed.
Oh, what's that noise? It's the sound of bottling it, my friends. What a shame. They were on for a magical result. It might just be merely excellent. We should not discredit their ability too much because they've done incredibly well to potentially even earn money here. But as for Control Freaks, I was saying that they're not exactly the same squad that they were, but they might find themselves here with a win in game number 6. There goes the black hole, and here comes Jasmine. Control Freaks are our final champions of the day, securing their survival for another week in the Soul League.
I'm glad we got to see a Control win finally, because the Control Freaks were playing really well, especially on World's Edge, and while they took a backseat on Stormpoint, it is a team that is clearly able to play for the zone, that has these reads really well, and was falling a little bit behind in KP in those last 3v3s. Lust still, though, with a gorgeous game.
20. Now imagine, let's just say we have a show over here in the UK. We used to have a show. It's called Bullseye. And if a person lost Bullseye, the host, in almost like a rather maniacal way, would say, like, look at what you could have won. Let's imagine for a second that they got 6 more kills and 5 more points for the placement, winning the game. So that's 11 more points. That would put them on 38. Let's consider that as we look at the overall leaderboard in a bit. Shout out to Control Freaks. Maximum placement points, 7 KP, 19 excellent work from them. Comms with 11. That very well should be enough to see them over the line as winners in week number 6. As we look at the other half of the leaderboard, though, it all went awry for EOS and JSA. Only 1 point for EOS. They got to be very frustrated with how today has ended up.
This is exactly why BRs are so fun to watch as well, because we were looking at JSA earlier in the day and going, who can even overcome this? The fact that we get games like this, where our top 2 teams score in the single digits on the last game with the most pressure, means so much to the teams that get to come up and rip that victory away from them. I'm waiting on the overall leaderboards because, as you talked about, I mean, we need to see exactly how far Cobs have come up.
Another British reference. Let's see the scores on the doors in good time, of course. We've got to input all the data, make sure that it is all correct. But let's just, again, wax a bit of lyrical over Lust, over Baby Ducks in particular. Very niche pick to go with the Octane. But it's a nippy little creature, that legend, and it can be such a nuisance to deal with. And although it might not have the overall contextual maneuvering that we might see from your Valkyries or your Pathfinders, in the microcosm of a team fight, it can swing it so violently in one direction or the other. We saw it multiple times today. An excellent performance from her.
That pad ridiculously valuable for getting on top of fights as well. It's what allowed Lust to clean up so many third parties around the map, as well as the single duo that landed on top of them that made me very, very sad. While we're waiting to take a look at the overall leaderboards, I've done the math, and I wanted to say, if Lust had had the perfect game that you were talking about, they would have had 72 points. So keep that in mind when we do eventually see the leaderboards, because 72 points is what we're comparing it to.
Oh, Oh, they wouldn't have done it, dear. They wouldn't have done it. Comms 4 points ahead of that theoretical scoreline, and they do enough to hold on to the win. JSA coming up with 70, not enough to get their first win of the split, but their closest performance to a series winning result. And how about this? A tiebreaker for the muddy between third and fourth. Veneer winning it on overall damage.
And a nice finish there. More placement points as well for Veneer, so a higher average placement overall would have broken the tie in a secondary way. But as Lust sit behind them, I want to reiterate the point that we brought up in game number 6, and that is that the Lust that we saw in that final game, had we seen that energy, that aggression, that constant push from this roster earlier on in the day, we would not be looking at a fourth place team.
No, we wouldn't. And actually worth mentioning that the damage is certainly a tie-breaking scenario, but Veneer were game winners earlier in the day. So that game win, enough to take them over the line in this case. But once again, Lust had the opportunity to win a game here. They were this close. I think, honestly, the closest that you could get to actually winning money in the Sol League without actually winning it. They are going to be kicking themselves, but I hope that they don't kick themselves too much, because goodness me, what a mighty performance in Game 6. And as you absolutely point out with utter correctness, string those performances together, and you got yourself a series winning team, let alone a game winning team. But let's talk about EOS as well. Elephant in the room. What a runaway victory in game number 1, and it just all fell apart.
They looked really good, and contrasting their previous performances, World's Edge was their better map today. I'm curious about what that means in terms of EOS's practice, whether that's been the map that they've been focused on, perhaps to the detriment of their Stormpoint performances, or what's going on behind the scenes, because it was a total swap up from especially 2 weeks ago, where they picked up double victories on Stormpoint and really cemented themselves as that SP team in my mind. Since they still managed to place in the top 5, though, I'm far from calling this a loss. Is really anywhere within the top 10. You can absolutely call a win, even for squads like Nice Girls, Control Freaks, TLN, Capivara, and Lavender, who sit right below EOS. You've still had an incredible day and come out in the top half.
One last fact before we switch over to the other side of the leaderboard. Comms, their highest finishing position in this split was 5th, would you believe, back in week number 3. Week number 2, I should say. So really a breakout performance for this squad. Incredibly proud of them. But let's take a look at that lower half of the leaderboard and to the bottom 5 teams who are relegated to the Lunar League. ARC, biggest disappointment of the day for me, to have Sabs and its Pika on your team and to only bring home 5 points at the end of the... I mean, at least it's not pointless, right? But couldn't have got much worse for them. WKL, LNW, XL, and Loch Nessie's joining them. GM in a bit of no man's land, but hey, 15th place, it's enough to secure survival. I think for the likes of Flower Power, though, dear, they are going to be breathing a sigh of relief. A bad day at the office, yes, but not a worst day at the office.
Even for GM, barely missing that cutoff by 2 points, the difference between they and Loch Nessie's. And for these bottom 5 teams, I mean, it's not like we didn't see good news stories. I remember calling out specifically LNW, Loch Nessie's having to beat in that contest, really ruining their last couple of games as well, since it makes it so difficult to actually get out, especially when other teams in the area are alerted to all the action. But it is back to the drawing board, not just in terms of a little bit of maybe unlucky performances today, but in looking forward to how the decisions that this team is making, these teams are making behind the scenes in game, can be edited in order to not put themselves in as risky situations and hopefully be able to accrue at least a few more placement points because of it.
Well, it's been a wonderful day, I think, for the rest of us, though. Certainly the audience and for us here on production. I mean, look, I'm just speaking for myself. I had an absolute privilege working with Dia for the first time, folks. It was wonderful. Of course, it's always lovely commentating with Etski on production. But we hope, most importantly, that you all had a great time. And if you are just discovering the Celestial Cup for the first time, then fear not. There is so much more on the horizon. Pun absolutely not, or maybe intended. You can decide yourself. We've got so much more action on the way, not just in the Soul League, of course, where we've got 3 more weeks of action before the grand finals, but on top of that, we've got the Lunar League running for a few more weeks. We've got some specialty events as well. So if you're interested in any of that, in any sort of involvement as a player or whatnot, then feel free to join our Discord or to follow us on socials. I mean, follow here on Twitch, of course, but also on Twitter at Sellers Cup. Those are the places to go. Those are the places that I would highly recommend. Dia, any final thoughts from yourself?
No, that was good. Thank you.
Nice, short and sweet. Thank you very much. Well, Etski, pleasure as always. What a man behind the camera, bringing you all of the pretty pictures and the live score updates. Dia, it's been a pleasure. Good sir. Hope to do it again soon. I've just been Relic, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.